Hello and welcome everyone to the Laszlo Upshift Festival. We will be celebrating the upshift to a bright alternative way of living anew through the publication of a milestone book, an exclusive podcast series by the Shift Network, multiple video messages sent by inspiring people, and an insightful TV documentary trailer about the life of Professor Ervin Laszlo. My name is Nora Cesar, the organizer of this one-of-a-kind event. I wanted to say a huge thank you to all the people who helped with this event, including our wonderful tech team, Izzy and Andrew from AV Lifted Productions, and to Fabrizio, our webmaster, for making sure that everything will go smoothly tech-wise. This event will have two parts. During the first part, Dr. Laszlo will talk to our hosts, Bill and Gail Gladstone of Waterside Publications, about the upshift and what it means. We will read excerpts from the book and do a live Q&A with the audience. Then we will watch pre-recorded videos, which include very special messages and appearances from Dr. Laszlo's friends and colleagues, such as Bruce Lipton, Jane Goodall, Master Shah, Greg Braden, Hiroen Masami Sayonji, and lots more others. They will talk about what it means to upshift in these unprecedented times. Then there will be some music throughout the program as well, just like how we started this whole program with some wonderful piano music played by the one and only Ervin Laszlo. So without further ado, I'm handing it over to Bill and Gail Gladstone, who are not only the host of this event, but also the publishers of the Upshift book written by Dr. Laszlo, with forewords and afterwards written by Greg Braden and Michael Beckwith. Thank you all for being here.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to the Upshift Festival and to the book launch for Professor Dr. Ervin Laszlo's book, Upshift. Upshift was deeply rooted in a young boy at 7 years old as he walked through the countryside of Budapest with his uncle, learning and discussing the nature of reality. At 9 years old, doing the music as a concerto pianist, and at 11, he was vastly awakened to the horrors of the war-torn Budapest through the Nazi invasion. And bravely, he offered his services to go and collect in through the deep of the night, collect bread and water for his neighbors and his family that were hidden deep within homes to protect them from the war. And vastly, at the same age, his innocence was taken as he saw the horrors of the war. He left Budapest because of the war. Then at 14 became part of Carnegie Hall and played there at that young age. He enjoyed a beautiful life of concerts and marriage and children. And by the age of 30, he was merging his philosophies with his living pieces of music. He began to open his heart and his mind and his soul to the wisdom of the cosmos. Sharing, like others here that are sharing today, Ervin has upshifted to lend a hand in the shaping of a new world about to be reborn. We invite the universe, the spirit of the universal wisdom, united with our highnesses, harnessing the power of wisdom, we gather to upshift as one. This great spirit is here for you, and you are here for us, for me, to gather, to raise the vibration of the planet together as a whole.
Thank you, Gail. We thought it was important to have a little bit of background on Ervin's personal evolution. Those of you who have an opportunity should purchase a copy of the biography autobiography of Ervin, and you'll get many more details. We have known Ervin for over 25 years. And in that time, we've become very good friends. And what I've always been aware of with Ervin is he is a true genius, but he is also a man who comes from his heart. Everything he does for a higher purpose. I think part of that is probably based on some of his childhood experiences that Gail has just spoken of. And one of the things that has always been center of Ervin's personal evolution is a connection to wisdom. Because I have represented, I'm a literary agent, I've represented some of the Nobel Prize winners and scientists and people who created the internet and everything else. And there are many, many intelligent people on our planet, but very few have the broad perspective that Ervin has. Very few connect with wisdom. Wisdom goes back, it's underrated until now. So much focus on the most innovative new technology. Well, there's a lot of technology that is being used very unwisely. And what Upshift, the book, and the movement, because this book is really the beginning of a movement, is about bringing wisdom. If you look at the subtitle of the book, wiser living. We must go back, and I say this is really going back to indigenous beliefs. It was wisdom that was most venerated in smaller societies. This is the individual groups that really were on this planet thousands of years ago. And those that survived, a lot of it had to do not with their technological prowess, but with wisdom. And that is what we need more than ever right now. And what we need, obviously, is to combine the wonders of technology. I'm not denigrating our technology or the brilliant minds that have created all of our technology, but we must, at this time, switch, upshift, shift our focus, and start bringing wisdom into everything that we do so that we can live more responsibly. First, I want to have a brief conversation with Ervin on why now is the moment for the Upshift book and the Upshift movement. And then I will want to introduce Lynn to also have a conversation with Ervin about why this is so critical. You're going to have a wonderful time today, those of you who can stay for the entire event. We have so many wonderful speakers, but the most important is Ervin. So Ervin, please provide a little bit of background on why now, why Upshift?
Thank you, Bill, for asking this question and giving me the opportunity, and altogether everybody, all our friends who are organizing this fantastic festival. I'm deeply grateful to them. But it's an opportunity to talk about something which is no joking matter. It is the linchpin, it is the fulcrum for the destiny of humankind. No bigger words can be spoken that would not apply. Everything applies the largest word, because we are at a turning point. We are at a tipping point. We are emerging out of a global crisis. And we are now learning something about being together on this planet and living on this planet. We have lived irresponsibly, irrationally even, on this planet, creating a world that is good for us in the immediate short-term future, but is disregarding the balances, the oneness which is in this world all around us. We have reached a point where a crisis is upon us, an ecological crisis, a health crisis, a refugee crisis, a social and political crisis. We are not past it yet, but we are now seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And that light must be focused on the individual, on persons. We have got to live more responsibly, wiser on this planet. We have got to live in tune, aligned with the harmony of life, with the oneness of life, of all life and of the planet. And this means living with each other, not for an immediate short-term benefit, never mind the rest, living so that we are part, that we know that we are part of a larger whole. The indigenous people have known this, traditional people have known this. We have forgotten it. In the past few decades, actually a few centuries, humankind has lived in an irresponsible way, just promoting its immediate short-term interest and saying goodbye to the oneness, which is around us, of which we are a part, forgetting that we are part of something larger, that spiritual people have always known, that scientists have known. But the everyday life was only focused on the short-term interest, short-term profit. And that has got to change. So wiser living, I want to wrap this up, and because then we can talk in more detail. Wiser living means living in a way that we can all live, that all life could flourish and thrive on this planet. To big an order, nothing less will do. Only this can take us forward. So I'm very glad to have had this opportunity to talk to you now. Glad to have written this book because I'm now publishing it today. So Bill Gladstone is a publisher. We are publishing it today to bring it to your attention. What I want to say about this book, read it, and perhaps it will tell you something that you need to know. But also remember, it's not the end of the story. This is the beginning of the story, beginning of a new era where we either shift up to a better world or we may be locked into a back shift, which could be a downshift. We need to shift up, and we can. Another chance may not come that easily, not in our lifetime, certainly. So here we are at the very threshold of a new era that we can shape by being wiser in the way we treat each other, the way we treat nature, and the way we live on this small and precious planet.
Yes, one of the things I'd like people to realize is the concepts in the book are actually quite simple. It's very basic, but this is wisdom that we've forgotten. How do we live together in a way that does satisfy the majority of our short-term goals, because we do live in the moment, but also provide a path forward so that not only is there a habitable planet for our children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, but actually a better planet and a better world and better opportunities. And it is not a zero-sum game. We can do better, and that's where Ervin is so inspiring.
We can, and it's up to the individual. That guidance for better living, for a better world, doesn't come from the outside, doesn't come from the authorities of any kind. It comes from inside. We each have this natural instinct, the natural intuition of living in harmony with each other. This has been known for thousands of years in the traditional cultures. Seeking harmony, seeking oneness. It seems to be an esoteric spiritual quest, but it's a precondition of continuing the survival, continuing the adventure and the evolution of humankind on the planet.
Yes, and one of the things that I like so much is some of the principles in Upshift are really the things that we learned at our mother's or father's knee. Kindness, respect. We start with these very simple values, and then we use them. And we use them as we grow in stature and maturity and interact with others who are in positions of power. It is not the people who are in positions of power who are going to make the difference. It's each and every one of us affecting how we ourselves serve as examples of the upshift. And therefore, every single person, not just those who are going to be speaking today, but every single person listening, every person you're going to be sharing the book with, is immediately part of the Upshift movement, part of the energy that needs to appear at this exact moment in time to ensure that everyone on this planet starts behaving more wisely and with greater care and greater stewardship for each other and our planet.
Yes, Bill, the Upshift is a reawakening, recognizing who we are. We are not separate. You know, Einstein says our separateness is an illusion. And I think all the great scientists and spiritual leaders know this. Realizing that we are part of it. We are part of a tremendous quasi-living planet that is evolving, has been evolving, has to continue to evolve. We neglected this. We thought we are beyond it, we are above it. We could use it as we wish. No, we have to be part of it. Returning to the source, returning to the oneness of this the planet. That is the big task in front of us. I'm trying to show some of how this can be done by individuals, how you can do this. You, the reader, you, the listener, the viewer, you can be part of this tremendous adventure of returning to the source, becoming again one with life on this planet. That way we can strive, then we can live together. Otherwise, we are in danger of denigrating, decaying the world around us, as is happening very, very rapidly. The sixth global extinction is on us. Will the humanity be part of that? Not if we are conscious and we act, we become wiser. It's time to do that. It's a survival imperative. It's not a joke. It's not an abstract goal. It's a survival imperative. We better become wise and learn to live together with nature and with each other. That's the task in front of us.
I think now would be a good time. I believe we have recorded one chapter from the book, and we were going to play that. And then those who are listening, who are inspired, can use the chat and send in some questions and take advantage of Ervin's presence, and he'll answer at least a few of the questions. That, you know, we are tight on time. We have at least a dozen presenters. And one of the things that's so uplifting, upshifting for me is that the other presenters, and they're a very distinguished group, are resonating so closely with Ervin's ideas and are doing so much on their own that is already contributing to the upshift. So I remain very optimistic, even in the face of what are clearly tensions throughout the world, that we will make the upshift. So, but let's listen to one of the chapters from the book.
The Upshift, Wiser Living on Planet Earth. We live at a historic turning point. The global crisis from which we are emerging is an unique opportunity. It holds vital lessons for our life and for our future. It makes clear that we are all in the same boat. We are one people with one destiny. But it also makes clear that our boat is unstable and in urgent need of repair, indeed of redesign. The political and the business communities are now waking up to the need for serious change. But creating a fundamentally new world doesn't depend on political and business people, but on the will and the vision of the bulk of the human population, on people like you and me. Do we understand what is at stake and what it is that we can do about it? Given that the aftermath of a crisis offers the opportunity to create a new world, understanding the nature of the world we could create is crucial. Whether or not we seize the opportunity to create it decides whether we shift up to a sustainable and life-friendly sphere of life, or drift down to growing and ultimately terminal conflict and chaos. In the last count, it decides the destiny of the human species on Earth. Creating a world in which we live in harmony with each other and with life on the planet is feasible. But to create it, we must know how to live more wisely in our own life, right here and now. This is the task and the opportunity we discuss in this book. Waking up and acting on it is in our own vital and immediate interest. The Upshift is to help you meet the challenge of our epoch. It is a handbook for urgent action, for wiser living by you and by me, and by all conscious and ethical people in the womb of a delicately balanced web of life on our precious home planet.
That is very inspiring and very much the essence of why Upshift is more than a book. It's the beginning of a movement. It's the beginning of a movement that is already underway. It's underway in many different corners of our planet. The Laszlo Institute is going to be one of the centers for the Upshift movement, but it's not the only resource that is coming, because this is a universal call. It's a call to everyone to immediately begin thinking in terms of global survival, global thriving, I would say. What can we do as individuals to ensure the best possible outcome for each of us, our communities, our world, and the future generations. We're open for anyone who wants to send some questions to Ervin in the chat. What are the principles and simple rules for guiding humanity to upshift our human consciousness to higher levels of civilization? This comes from Rick Botello. So, Ervin, it's a big question. But
it's a very relevant question
Yeah.
indeed. Thank you for asking it. I believe that there is a motivation inside us. There is a spirit that is driving us. We are not passive beings. There is something which helps us to seek harmony, to help us to seek working together, help us to be coherent with the world around us. This is a scientific fact. The universe was born in a chaos 13.8 billion years ago, according to cosmology. And since then, it has been moving toward coherence, toward higher levels of order, despite of the many fluctuations and fallbacks. On the whole, coherence is increasing on the planet. And we are part of that movement. Now we can access that if we allow our deeper self to take control of the way we act. Deep down, we know that we are part of the world. We know that this world is a dynamic whole, that it develops to higher levels of order and coherence. This is not fantasy, this is evolution, cosmic evolution, the way it occurs on Earth, and as well as, of course, in all other planets and places in the universe. So listening to your own self, listening to your deeper self, and acting according to what it tells you to align with evolution. Be one with it, go with it. Don't stand outside of it. Don't try to ignore it, you can't anyway. Go with it, be part of it. Then I think we can act wiser and we can be part of the solution and not part of the problem.
the next question is one that really intrigues me. The question is, can we feel the truth of reality beyond illusion as more than a mental construct? How do we join duality with non-dual oneness consciousness without going into a cave? Very provocative question.
Well, that's probably a question that asked Plato and scores of philosophers since then, but all spiritual people. How, yes, accessing, I think, our deeper self, who we really are. We are not just flesh and bone organisms living according to mechanical laws in a universe which is a Newtonian passive universe with space and time just a backdrop. We are very much a part of an evolving universe, of an evolving world. How do we access this? We can listen to science. Yes, that will tell you something about it. We can rediscover the great truths of the spiritual systems, from the Western systems to the Tao. Everywhere there's the seeking of the oneness, which was the origin of this world. This is prominent. We can also experience beauty, art, experience nature. All of that helps us to understand that we are part of a wondrous universe. Let me just quote, to conclude this, with quote Einstein, who said, there are only two ways to live your life, as if everything is a miracle or as if nothing is. Now, I think everything is a miracle. This is a miraculous universe. We are miraculous beings. It doesn't mean that it's mystique, that's ununderstandable. It means that it's not mechanical, not flat, not passive. It's a driving, growing, evolving world. And joining it, consciously being part of it, is the way that we can ourselves grow and allow the world around us to grow and develop as well.
One of the unique aspects of your work, Ervin, is your musical ability. Can you just comment a little bit on how your love of music and your higher frequency when you play music has contributed to your own evolution and your own thought relating to the upshift?
You know, I just talked about the seeking of coherence as a basic element of one's life, of one's spirit. There is nothing more coherent in the world than great music, wonderfully performed. That's a different experience from the everyday world. That's an experience of oneness that's unparalleled. It's an experience where everything makes sense. Nothing is superfluous, nothing is missing, where everything is whole. I was lucky from a childhood on. I had this experience of great music. I discovered that I have some talent for music. I've been playing concerts since I was 9 years old as a prodigy, childhood prodigy. But what was important for me is not directly talking or playing for people. What was important for me is the experience, experiencing this dynamic oneness, this dynamic floating and flowering that you feel when you are playing music, when you are with it. You can feel it to some extent, of course, when you're listening to it. When you are with it, when you're in it, you feel it even more. So ever since my childhood, I've been seeking this coherence, this sense of unity, this sense of belonging, and been seeking it through science. And I'm finding it because the contemporary sciences and the latest development are all talking about this central role of coherence in life and in the universe. And that is, I think, something we can learn. We can learn to go in and emulate nature, be part of nature. We can learn from science, and we can learn from art and poetry and all forms of the great aesthetic experience. We have it at our hands. Let's use it. Let's become a more coherent individual who can be as coherent as the web of life is coherent on this planet. That's how we join it.
Wonderful answer. From Mark Moody, do you believe that there is complete scientific proof now of the Akashic field and the upshift movement? I'm a little concerned about complete scientific because I don't think anything's ever complete, but please comment on that question.
Well, great philosophers of science have said that science cannot be proved, but it can be improved. So there's no complete scientific proof for anything. But there's as good a proof as for anything else that this world in which we live is not a separate mechanical world, but an interconnected world where all things influence other things. More than influence, where all things are becoming that oneness. And that's a quantum physics tenet. When you do something to a particle that has been split in half and has been projected to someplace else, then you then do something to it at one location, that distant location will feel that the particle will act as if you were there, as if you were doing it to that half of the particle. That's non-locality. And that's a proven scientific fact. We are not separate. We are not outside of each other. We are inside a field which is a quantum field where all things interact, where all things cohere, where all things in the optimal case can evolve together. And we can call this, according to the ancient knowledge, call it the Akashic field, because it includes all things. And if you are wise, you can even read some of it. You can understand the world better by entering in communion with this Akashic field.
We have another question. I'm not sure who this is from, and it's more on the, I would call, frustration side of the equation. This writer says, you know, I read Macro Shift many years ago, but I'm seeing more signs that the shift has been down in the last 20 years since you've been writing about the tipping point than up. What do you see that is positive, and why have we experienced so much negativity over the last 20 years?
Well, I agree with this question. I agree with this comment. We have been sliding down towards conflict, towards separation, toward artificial ways of living, and all of that has taken its toll. I don't pretend to be an expert of virology, but I think even this virus is a consequence of our living in an unnatural, artificial way, bringing in a virus into the circulation of the human food chain and eventually allowing it to penetrate to the web of life on this earth. But that's one element, an important element, but one element only. We are living in a way in which we have separated ourselves off from the rhythms, the balances of life. Sure enough, the last 20 years has been a sliding downwards. That is why we have this crisis. It's a lesson. It's an opportunity to reverse that trend, to go from down to up. This is the time when we can upshift. We have downshifted. We can upshift. And if we are at least minimally wise, we know that we should not backshift. We should not go back. That would be going down. Upshift means you can go forward to finding that natural unity, which is the goal, the objective of evolution, the very texture of life as a higher level. Or spirituality, we know it. Science, we know it. Now, in practical life, we also have to adopt it and know it. Shift up to a larger level of coherence with each other and with nature, with every leaf on every tree, with every element of every DNA, wherever it is in this biosphere. It's all evolving, it's all growing. We are not separate from it and we are not above it. Let's live with it and learn from it, to be with it. Be the change you want to see in the world. That's what Gandhi said.
One of the questions is related to education for children. First, the Upshift book itself, what age group do you think is appropriate? How young can someone be to read the Upshift book? And is there a possibility of creating specific materials for younger children based on the principles of the Upshift book?
I think these are simple principles. I try to write in such a way that is both simple and convincing. If it's too simple, then it's not convincing anymore. Then it's just that it's somebody's thought, somebody's imagination. I have to document also what I'm writing, but I want to be clear. And clear means being simple as possible, but not simpler. This is what Einstein also said. So I think we could make the message of Upshift available to children in grade school, because children know this. Children know that they belong together with their playmates, with the world around them, with the trees and the rivers and the clouds above. They know this. We educate it out of them. We can leave it in them. If we can leave this knowledge, wisdom, grow, let it grow when we are allowing a child to become himself and herself truly, and not artificially separating oneself from the rest. Work together, live together, yes. Grade school, certainly already starting. High school, obviously, very much so. And I think if the young people who are entering college and trying to find something more, find out something more about life, about existence, they could read this book and they could say, aha, it's not difficult, it's not complicated. It means aligning. It means allowing yourself to be what you were meant to be, what nature made you, what the Creator made you. A natural creator. I believe the universe is a creation, is a living entity. If we are part of it, if we are with it, I think that young people can understand. And there is now a host of scientific data that says we are not mechanically connected, we are intrinsically connected, we are inherently one. That is a message that I think every young person can understand.
There's another question that is so well phrased. Let me read it in full, and it's directly related. Is the major problem to upshift globally not that each human being is vibrating to his or her frequency, and to have a symphony and not a cacophony? These individual frequencies have to play in tune with one another, isn't it? So how to upshift the individual frequencies of the people the world over. So
Well, you don't have to pick up the frequency. We're not engineers. We're not creating ourselves through technical means. The alignment of our frequencies will come when we recognize who we are and what the world is. We have neglected a very major element of this world, of the human world, and that we can call consciousness. Consciousness means that we have a mind, we have a mindset, we have what we in my institute we call a paradigm. And this mindset is what tells us who we are and what we are and how we can go forward. So consciousness, the role of consciousness is crucial. That by employing consciousness as a living being who can feel, who can sense the world, and not only abstractly try to benefit from it, they use it for his or her immediate purposes, but feel it, try to be part of it consciously, because consciousness has so many levels. It's not only the rational consciousness, it's the deep consciousness, it's the deep subconscious that great scientists like Jung and others have always explored, that even physicists like Schrödinger and Pauli have rediscovered. This level of frequency is a dominant frequency in spiritual people. It's a dominant frequency in children. It's a dominant frequency in artists. And when you look at the EEG patterns, we know that this frequency is lower. There's a lower range of frequency than the general, usual one. Usually we are in beta, and we are in this transcendent oneness kind of a frame of mind. Then we're moving down to alpha and even theta and even down to delta. It's interesting. Delta is the deepest level of frequency, between 1 and 3 frequency per minute. When people are in delta, they're usually deeply asleep, except spiritual people. Deeply spiritual people are awake in delta and can communicate. So we can shift down. For once in all of life, we should shift up. But when it comes to frequencies, we should shift down to lower frequencies. Then we become more spiritual people, more open to information about who we are, more open to being one with each other.
Gail is
Yes.
going to comment a little bit about the sacredness of the exact date and moment that we've chosen for the festival.
Yeah, so we are present now. And in that presence, there has been chosen 2/22/2022. That is 6 twos. Twos are relationship. And the relationship of 6 is in the higher frequency. It would be calling on the cosmos, so to speak. And as you add them together, they become 12, which is the dodecahedron, the symbol of the universe in mathematics. And then as you add the 12 together, you come into the 3. And the 3 is the mind, the body, and the soul. And together with the mind, body, and soul, with the dodecahedron of the mathematics of the universe, coupled with relationship between that and human beings, we see the magic of the presence that we are in now, and we call upon that presence to integrate within us.
Thank you, Gail. This is knowledge that comes from the heart. It comes from a deep intuition, and that you enlarge it, you complete it with your knowledge of the significance of numbers. It's an ancient art, started with Pythagoras, and it's still valid. We don't understand everything about the world. Sometimes the magic of numbers can help us.
I think we should wrap up the question part of the event. There may be opportunities later on for a few more questions, but we have a lot of guest speakers that have already sent in some pre-recorded messages as well. So to get them in, I think we need to cut off the questions at this time. Lynn Taggart is one of the most influential authors in the world. She's written 7 books. Her intention experiment has been universally acclaimed for its potential to impact in a positive way so many different individuals and organizations on this planet, that we are truly delighted that she is joining us. And she is so aligned with the essence of Ervin's work over the last, well, really his life, and particularly since speaking as a systems theorist about the upshift versus the downshift, and the reality that all systems either disintegrate into chaos or rise above. And obviously, we want to rise above to a more beautiful system, if you will, and one that is in greater harmony. Lynn, delighted to have you.
Thank you so much, Bill. Thank you so much, Ervin. It's great to be here with you.
It's wonderful that you came, Lynn. And I look forward to having a brief exchange with you. I think the idea of intention and working through intention is so very relevant today. Thanks for pioneering that.
Oh, absolutely. And I think what's so brilliant about all of the work you've done has been a call for many years that we need to do something differently, and looking at it as a whole. And the whole idea that we have to upshift is so close to my heart, because we see we really have reached an end of days, as you've said. And we are now getting to a point where everything is so corrupt in our systems, politically, economically, with having to do with climate. We are so polarized. There's so much going on. We do have our backs up against the wall, and that is a perfect time, as Barbara Marx Hubbard said, as somebody pointed out, for change. You know, somebody's pulling the trigger, so we need to do something very quickly.
How do you see, let me be asking one question, then go on to you. How do you see in practice meeting that challenge that is awaiting us? This challenge to shift up.
Okay, a couple of ideas. Number one, we have to change our story. And you talked about it when you said our story is about our essential connectedness. Now, one of the problems we have is we're living according to an old scientific story, a story that has defined us as separate entities that are very well behaved, operating according to fixed laws in time and space. The Newtonian idea that essentially ripped us out of the heart of our world by creating this new framework that has given us technological mastery over our universe, but left us with the most appalling sense of separation. And that was also compounded by the work of Charles Darwin, at least the interpretation of the early work of Darwin. Later on, he refuted some of this, but he was interpreted to be basically saying there isn't enough to go around, so life must proceed through struggle. So that whole idea of us being separate and needing, and life being a race to the finish line, has created this idea of competitive individualism. And that really is at the heart of everything that is going wrong with us now. And we have reached an endpoint there, where we have so much corruption, as I say, in our political system. We have so much corruption in our economic system. It's every man for himself. There is so much lack of concern, and it's built into our upbringing. From the time we were small children, we learn to be competitive. So that has to change. Now, one of the things that I'm very interested in is not trying to change the big picture, because I think there's a level of power and corruption that is very difficult to change to the degree that we need. But we can make amazing ground up change. And that's certainly the work that I've been doing, the power of intention in small groups. You know, Margaret Mead's wonderful, well-known quote, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed individuals can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." And it's true through all of history. Big change starts with small groups. And so one of the things that I've been experimenting with is demonstrating to individuals in just small groups of 8 or in groups of 25,000 when we've done the intention experiments, that we have powers that exceed anything that we've been told, that we have the power to create, we have the power to change, we have the power to heal. So number one is about assembling in small groups. And number two is understanding that we do have enormous power. We have the power of a grassroots movement, like you want to initiate, Ervin. We also have the power of our wallets, and never underestimate that power. We can refuse to take something, refuse to buy something, refuse to use something that is harmful. So I would first start with intentional groups, which is power of 8 groups, as I call them, because they give people a sense. I mean, I've seen thousands of healings over the years, since about 2008, with people in small groups, being able to use group intention to heal things within their group and things without their group, not just their health, but also their lives, their finances, their career, their relationships, whatever. And I've seen that kind of extraordinary rebound effect that occurs when people do intention in a group. Not just the recipients, but the senders also heal. So it gives people a very tangible idea that that old scientific story is not true, does not reveal, and does not in any way approximate the magnificence that we are and that our world is, and that we can understand and work with. So I think number one is really changing our story. Number two is about starting from the ground up with this movement.
Lynn, thank you for that insight. What I'm about now, which I'd just like to mention a couple of words, is to start something which is based on the person, on individual people. I would like to invite people to join what I call the Upshift movement. How do you join, and why is that important? Why? Because I think everything ultimately will depend how the individual lives. I say in this book, wiser living on planet Earth. The question is, individuals need to live wiser. I assume that individuals know how to live wiser. If they really look around, if they really listen to themselves, they really reflect for a moment, they know how they can live in harmony with nature and with the world around them. So I'm starting a movement. It's called the Upshift movement. We start with individuals, with asking individuals to come in, to respond to a call, pledge living more wisely, and say in a few words, or in a little longer if you like, how it is that you think you can live more wisely. Then bring these people together, create projects, empower them, ask sponsors to come in and help, and create larger projects through which individuals can come together and live wiser. Because ultimately, if the individual starts living better on this earth, the whole situation will change around us. The problem is we disregard the possibility of how we need to live. We disregard a crucial role of other people in our lives, of nature in our lives. So I'm starting a movement on Upshift movement. Ask people to come and pledge their living more wisely on this earth. Tell us what that movement is, what that more wise living is, and allow us to bring people together who are committed to a wiser living and create a movement where people can actually realize their wiser living goals. It can be done. We can start with where you need to start is the person. Bring the right people together. Allow them to recognize each other. Allow them to work together. So the intention, starting from the ground up, that's what you're doing, Lynn. I'm trying to do this also with the recognition that we have in this moment in history, we have the chance to change. We are living, coming up, emerging out of a crisis. hopefully we can see now the light at the end of the tunnel. We are emerging, and we need that guidance, which only comes from inside us. So ask people to come, look at themselves. Can you live wiser? And if so, how? And then let's join together. Let's empower these movements together. So that's my plan. And I hope that you, Lynn, and people like yourself, and so many people around us can recognize it and can create experiments also. For when people live together, when they come together for wiser living, they have a new intent. They'll change the world around them. I think they will. And I think this is one way to do it very quickly and very efficient.
I think, Ervin, everything you said is so true about us knowing inside who we really are and knowing how to live wisely, because, you know, the science that I've looked at demonstrates that we need to belong as human beings. We're never meant to be competitive. We need to give. We need to be fair. These are built into our DNA, essentially. And we also experience, anybody who does something altruistic, people who do altruistic things, even simple acts of kindness, live longer, healthier, happier lives. The science is unequivocal. So we need to go back and inside ourselves, as you say, we really have that innate wisdom of how we're supposed to live and really go to the source rather than listening to the siren calls of making more money or winning at any cost. You know, we need to go beyond that. We definitely need to go beyond that. And I really applaud you for what you're starting.
Well, Lynn, I think it is so important that we have these discussions. I think what we have forgotten is that this world is what the ancients call the holistic world. It's a world, it's a one world. I think even very recently, I mean, the previous generation, Erwin Schrödinger said that wholeness, that consciousness is no way in which it could be said in the plural. Consciousness is one because we are one. And that comes from a quantum physicist. You know, Whitehead said that. I think Einstein knew that. I think we have to recognize that the truth is that when the whole is one, when the whole is coherent, when it's together, then every part benefits. Whereas if you only aim at the part and disregard the whole, very often you can make the whole decay, you can make the whole disaggregate, and the whole then becomes something which is out of control. Think of it. Take care of the whole. Take care of life on Earth, because you and I, we are part of that life. We'll only thrive when life around us thrives on Earth. So return to this holism, return to the source, return to knowing who we are, and then come together and act. Then we can change our world.
Absolutely. And, you know, what you said is so wise too, this whole idea of really focusing on what holism actually means. Because, you know, many people in this movement, many people in general say, oh yeah, we're all connected. Well, what does that actually mean? What are the implications of that? You know, it's no good sort of saying, yeah, we're all connected, and then going back to those old ways of being when you're at work, when you're working at business. That has to be a fundamental operating principle in every aspect of your life. We're all connected. If we're all connected, that doesn't mean we only connect with Democrats or we only connect with Republicans. It doesn't justify the great schism that we have now, the great polarizations we have. If we're all one, you have to reach over. The heart has to leap across the fence. So we have to start understanding ways of speaking to people who aren't like us, connecting with people who disagree with everything we stand for, because they're still part of the whole. And the same goes with bringing this to work, not just on Sunday. Bringing this to the way we bring up our children, not just a batch of words that we say. You know, this needs to be incorporated into every area of our lives. And perhaps, as you say, it's got to be start with the individual. And then once you embody that yourself, then you can start that movement, that it becomes a ripple effect around you.
The movement has to be a self-evolving, self-sustaining movement based on the individual who is naturally wiser, but doesn't know how to live that wisdom. That's why I say not only act wiser in politics and in business or in civil sphere, but live it in everything you do, every moment of the day and night. Live in such a way that you are not a cancer on this web of life, but a positive factor, which adds to its coherence, adds to its harmony. An ancient objective now become more important than ever. And now it's more possible than ever before. We never had a global crisis before, not at that level. We had it and we're emerging out of it. This is the time. If we don't change now, I don't know when we will change. But I'm confident that this is a time when we not only can change, but we will change.
There's another comment that your conversation has influenced. And this is such a good comment. I want to just read it to everyone. The comment is from someone named Ariel. And she says, I pledge to live more wisely on Earth and join the Upshift movement. I think that is the beginning of the movement. If we can create a pledge to live more wisely, perhaps Ervin in his brilliance will come up with what in a practical sense that means. And if everyone just did a pledge every morning when they wake up, it's just something they do personally, that they pledge to live more wisely, they will, by just doing that, be part of the Upshift movement. So I want to thank Ariel for that. So Lynn, why don't you have one more question with Ervin, and then we have not only the pre-recorded messages, but I know that we have at least one of our other illustrious commentators who joined the live Zoom, and Bering, who I think wants to have a moment or two with Ervin, and there may be one or two others. So we're going to end up going longer than we had anticipated. So I really want to thank you and give you one sort of concluding moment to wrap up your words of wisdom as well.
Well, all I want to say is I think everybody should take a pledge, and I really bow to the greater wisdom of Ervin to come up with that pledge that we can all live by. But the point is, it's about what you already are. As I say, my work is about examining the extraordinary abilities you already have that have been denied you by this story and by the authority figures and the way that we've lived. So it's about reclaiming who you really are. And who you really are is so much more magnificent than the you that's been living unwisely, as we all have been living unwisely. So I really invite you all to explore that extraordinary extended human potential, that much more uplifting and revitalizing story, the new scientific story showing that we truly are all connected. And by going deep into yourself to understand that you actually have all of these good qualities inside you, giving, being fair, loving, all of those things are part of you, are central to you. And so I invite you to explore and find them too.
Thank you so much, Lynn. And one final comment that you've inspired in me is I think that we really need to emphasize compassion, because so many of those who are supposedly unawakened and doing things that are creating chaos are to some extent victims of a system that was created before they even arrived, where they had so much negative programming that many of them actually believe that they are doing good when they're contributing to chaos. And so we need to have compassion for everyone. And I think your comments about it doesn't matter, Republican, Democrat, what your political beliefs, other ethnic diversity, we are all in this together. And we are all trying in our own way to improve the world. And so I think that the more inclusive we can be to people who are not necessarily identifying themselves as spiritually interested, let alone awakened, the more effective we're going to be. Ervin, do you have a last comment on your conversation with Lynn?
What you said, Bill, what you're saying, Bill, being inclusive is necessary. If anybody is really missing from this upshift endeavor, the upshift will not succeed well. We all have to be together. A living organism is a coherent whole of all its elements. A successful movement is a whole of all its members, of all its adherents. Being inclusive is a necessity. Nature is inclusive. Nothing is left out of it. Humanity, when it's wise, it's inclusive. We have to be in it together as one. And this is the tropism. This is the deep element, the impulse that is deeply in us. And let me add just one word, a four-letter word that we have mentioned so far, which I think is so important, and that's L-O-V-E, love. When we are coherent, when we are joined with others, what we feel is love, unconditional love. The great spiritual masters knew this and they still know it. Scientists are recognizing it now. And I think it's the key to creating an upshift where we are capable of loving each other and loving the world in which we live.
Thanks so much. And thank you so much, Lynn. I think we have one or two more speakers that are going to jump on live, and we'll have just a couple of more short interviews, and then we'll get into the pre-recorded part of the program in which we have over a dozen wonderful speakers sharing their information. Thank you for joining us.
I'd like to thank Ervin for everything he said and Lynn for everything that she said, because it's absolutely just what we need at the moment. My work has been with the rescue of the feminine principle, which began to disappear 4,000 years ago. And because of all the things we've been taught to believe and all the emphasis on sin and guilt and separation from the divine, we've been completely programmed to look upon ourselves in the wrong way. And we've got to change that whole formation, really, and understand that we're divine beings, that we're cosmic beings, and that we're here for a purpose. And that the purpose is to do the will of the cosmos. And so this has been my work to bring that message through. And it's coming through Ervin, it's coming through Lynn and thousands of other people on the planet who are gathering together, really. And it needs to include Putin, because Putin is an example of someone whose psyche has been deeply, deeply damaged, traumatized probably in childhood. He's been brought up in a Stalinist system, which in itself was catastrophic. And the grandiosity that he exhibits and the inflation, hugely inflated ego, is a compensation to his deep sense of unworthiness and also to his suffering that he must have lived through in growing up in that regime. And possibly, I don't know what his parental situation was. But so we have to really have compassion for him as he rapes Ukraine. I mean, it is the most awful experience for all of us to watch, having been through the Second World War and thought that was hopefully the end. And now we're seeing a scenario which could lead to another war. So we have to be extremely vigilant of what our own lives are doing and extremely vigilant in the exercise of compassion and inclusive to everyone. So I think that is about the feminine principle. That is bringing back the feminine principle into our culture. And it's coming back, thank God, through quantum physics and the connection of all of us to everyone else and our connection to the cosmos. And we are really the voice of the cosmos waking up on this planet, which is exciting and thrilling, I think. It's a tremendous responsibility, a tremendous privilege to be of this group of people who are waking up and who are able to hear the voice of the cosmos and pay attention to it, to its call, because this is what my book, The Dream of the Cosmos, was all about, was really responding to the call of the cosmos at this moment in time. So I think that's all I need to say. And thank you for inviting me and for allowing me to say these few words. And thank you, Ervin, for all your work, which has been of great value to me.
And you are a person whom I always admire. It's one of the greatest living spiritual persons in the world. And having you voice this in the way you do is a great, great satisfaction, a great reinforcement for the idea that we indeed are embarking on a road which could lead to an upshift. We could, because we are trying to find who we really are, and find out our connection, find out our oneness beyond spirituality, beyond even quantum physics, our oneness in reality, and live it. If we can do that, we will certainly shift up. And if we don't do it, we are in grave danger of shifting, running down. Thank you, Anne, for your spiritual insights, which are more needed today than they ever have been.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I must say, Anne, you've inspired me to remember my good friend, David Loy, who actually is the person that introduced me to Ervin Laszlo, who was Rianne Eisler's partner throughout her life, his life rather. He passed recently, and the work that he and Rianne have been doing with the Partnership Way addresses, and you know, her wonderful book, The Chalice and the Blade, I think addresses some of the issues that you too have been dedicating your life to. But I did want to just comment and in a small way pay some homage to David, because his life was truly exemplary, one of the most extraordinary human beings I ever met, and so grateful to him for introducing me to Ervin and all that has come from our partnership as Ervin's agent and friend with his book. So just want to acknowledge David's role in really helping humanity so much throughout his lifetime.
Well, I can say that David has been one of the persons that has inspired and motivated me almost more than anybody else in his life. He's one of the most wonderful persons I've ever met. And it's a tremendous loss, except that I know that his spirit is somehow still with us. We can still live with it. But I'm glad that you can remember David Loy, a great human being.
Yeah, he was extraordinary intellect, but even a more extraordinary heart. And that's the rare combination that I think the world needs so much right now. Let us now go to the pre-recorded messages. You're going to be inspired. I listened to them all, and I'm going to listen to them all again. They're just wonderful people. Shows how important the work that Ervin has been doing the last 40, 50 years has been to them, and how important this upshift movement really is. This is much more, I mean, I've represented thousands of books, and I don't think we've ever had a festival to open a book. And that's because we've never had a book quite like the Upshift book that really has the potential to make such a major contribution to the world. So let's go to the pre-recorded. Ervin will be coming back. The pre-recorded messages are lengthy. I do warn you, it's almost 2 hours, but we will be coming back afterwards for a short wrap up, including some wonderful piano playing. Ervin still plays as the maestro he is, and then just a few words from Gail and I to wrap up. So stay on line. You're going to enjoy the next 2 hours.
Hi, dear friends, cultural creatives and seekers everywhere. Bruce Lipton here, author of the best-selling book, The Biology of Belief. And I'm here actually to talk about a wonderful new work called Upshift by Ervin Laszlo. And this is a very important book for our time right now for a very simple reason. We are facing an evolutionary upheaval. And nature is telling us as we don't change our ways, extinction is looming not in 1,000 years, but within the next few decades even. So what we need to do is change our behavior, because human behavior is precipitating a collapse of the web of life, which is leading to what is called the sixth mass extinction. Now, Ervin's book is a very important contribution to this, because it's going to give us some insights and information on how we can change the character and quality of our lives to not just survive in this world, but actually to thrive into the new evolution. So I highly recommend that we take a break and start to look at a new way of life on this planet. And Upshift is the real introduction of what is the method of going from this mass extinction into a world where heaven on earth is a way of life. And the answers to those questions are going to be found in my dear friend Ervin Laszlo's book, Great Philosopher, putting his philosophy down for us to move into the future. I so look forward to having you involved with this process, because together we will create an evolution that we can thrive in. So looking forward to The Upshift by Ervin Laszlo.
Hello, this is Jane Goodall with a message for Professor Ervin Laszlo's Upshift movement. Right now, we're going through dark times, politically, socially, and especially environmentally. We've brought climate change and loss of biodiversity on ourselves by our disrespect of the natural world. And we've also brought this pandemic on ourselves by our absolute disrespect of animals, treating them as mere things to be exploited as we wish, and not as the sentient beings they are. As Ervin Laszlo says, we need a new mindset. We need to shift our thinking and our behavior. If we carry on with business as usual, putting short-term gain ahead of protecting the natural world for future generations, we're doomed, as already in some places we're using up nature's finite natural resources faster than nature can replenish them. We must realize we're part of the natural world. Indeed, we depend on it. Even if we live in the middle of a city, the air that we breathe, the food we eat, the clothes we wear originate in nature. Already more people are aware, but many don't know what to do. We must all remember that every day we live, we create some kind of impact on the planet, and we can choose what sort of impact we make. If we start to ask questions about what we buy, how we travel and interact with nature, and if we make ethical choices, the upshift in our minds begins. The good news is that some even big corporations are changing the way they do business, ensuring that ethical standards are upheld in how they source their products and pay their staff. Climate change is at least high on the political agenda of many countries. We must alleviate poverty, for the poor will destroy the environment simply to survive. For example, they cut down trees to make money from timber or charcoal. And in a city, they don't have the luxury of asking if a product harmed the environment, was cruel to animals, is cheap because of unfair wages. And we must alleviate the unsustainable lifestyles of so many of us. We must educate children, empower them to make a difference, to know that they matter, and that we're there to help and support them if they need us. Indeed, we must encourage a new mindset. We must shift up. We have the know-how. Together we can. Together we will. We must. Thank you.
Hello, friends. Greg Braden here, and I want to welcome you to the Upshift Festival and the celebration and the launch of a brand new book by my dear, dear friend, my colleague, Ervin Laszlo. I was honored and privileged to contribute to the book, and that's what I want to talk to you about right now. What is an upshift? What does it mean? What does it mean in our world? What does it mean in our lives? You know, it's no secret that we're living a time of extremes. Boy, are we ever. We're seeing it all around us, and even those that used to be skeptical can no longer deny that something different is happening, something unique, and from my perspective, something so precious, this rare, precious moment in the history, not just of our lives, not just of our nations, but of our planet, of our civilization. A rare moment, the first time we've seen this in 5,000 years of recorded human history, when the systems that we have built in the past, that served us in the past, are now no longer working. They are breaking down. They are buckling and collapsing before our very eyes. We know this. We're seeing it happen with climate. We're seeing it happen with the economy. Seeing it happen with the global financial system, with the global healthcare system. We're seeing these systems collapse all around us. And it's no accident that they are, because we are living this convergence of cycles of time and human experience that we simply don't talk about. We don't talk about it in mainstream classrooms, textbooks, mainstream documentaries, but they are what is driving the change. I want to talk to you just for a moment about how nature accomplishes tremendous change in a healthy way. And I'm going to use the science of cymatics to help me do this. Some of you know about cymatics, some may not. Cymatics is a relatively new science of pumping vibration, sometimes audible sounds, tones, into a physical media, a liquid media. It could be water, it could be a mercury, or a powder like talcum powder or salt or sulfur, sugar, granulated sugar. And what happens is each tone creates a specific pattern in the physical medium. And when the tone changes, that pattern changes. As the vibration increases to a higher level, to a more complex level of sound, the pattern becomes more complex as well. Here's the key, and this is what you're going to see. The only way that pattern can go from one beautiful, beautiful pattern to a higher order of a more complex, more beautiful pattern is that the original pattern has to break down to give way to a higher order. This is where we are today. We are in it, and the only way out of it is to go through it. We're going through the breakdown of the complex patterns that we've created in the past, as I said, that work for us. I'm not saying they're right, wrong, good, or bad. The point is the world changed. So we've got to change, and the systems have to change, and it is rare for humans to live through this kind of change in such a compressed window of time. This is what the Upshift is all about. This is what Ervin Laszlo's book is all about, helping us to understand, number one, why this is so powerful, but number two, what can we do? So let's take a look at this cymatics pattern right now. So what you're seeing on your screen is a droplet of water, and when I set this into motion, you're going to see these patterns emerge. Before I do that, I just want you to know this is a brief film clip from a presentation that I gave in 1995. 1995, my hair was a little bit longer, a little bit darker than it is now, and you'll see that in just a moment. Let's take a look at this pattern. So here's what's happening. There's a vibration in the pattern, and the pattern's reflecting it, but now as the vibration increases, the pattern becomes more complex. Look at that. Look how beautiful that is. Here's where it gets really interesting. The only way for that beautiful pattern to give way to a higher order of a more complex pattern, there I am, 1995. The only way for that pattern to give way to the higher level of order is it's got to break down. And when it does, look at what happens. It's breaking down. And as it breaks down, watch what emerges. It's a more beautiful, more complex pattern. If you are a student of sacred geometry, you're seeing sacred geometry right there. But it doesn't end there, because as the pattern continues, or the vibration continues to increase in frequency, the pattern continues to give way to more complex patterns. Each time the existing pattern has to disappear. You and I are going through this right now. If you don't know this, the change in the world can be frightening. If you do understand this, what you know is the change in the world is necessary. We're in it. The only way out of it is to go through it. We're living this rare and precious moment in the history of our world when there's an unprecedented openness to accept new ideas, to accept new ways of thinking. Ervin Laszlo's new book, The Upshift, gives us the blueprint. It's the template to embrace that thinking, but it goes beyond that. It tells us how to apply that thinking in our lives in a healthy way. So I want to thank you for supporting the Upshift, and I want to thank you for all that you're doing to make this the best world possible.
We'd like to begin by congratulating our beloved Ervin on his remarkable new book, The Upshift for Thriving on Planet Earth. He asked us to share what the upshift means for us. In his latest book, he begins with Hamlet's famous questions: to be or not to be? Shifting up to a better world or drifting down to crisis and chaos? This is indeed, dear friends, the challenge of our time. Ervin rightly points out that it's no longer a question of whether to change or not to change, only how to change, And he affirms that action is needed on a global scale with active participation of a critical mass of the world population. In other words, we need a lure of becoming, a lure for the upshift, one that is not just based on the breakdown of all that's no longer working, rather envision the upshift itself as an evolutionary force. Ervin explains this beautifully in this book, the evolutionary force for attracting us forward into the greater becoming of the higher dream. The poet says, redeem the time, redeem the unread vision of the higher dream. He reminds us that this evolutionary force, which I like to call the lure of our becoming, empowers us to shift beyond the challenges and crises of our time. My friend and co-author, Anne-Louise Smitsman, here, may share with us how that very lure is part of the future itself. What the upshift means for me is the higher world, the deeper world, the world that we are meant to have. We are not just, wandering around strangers in a universe. We are part of the cosmic mind herself. And we have it within us. If we can just get it together, we have it within us to profoundly be the change that makes the change. And that is what, dear friends, in this remarkable book, dear Ervin, shows us the paths to the transformation, the paths in which we are the ones who will be ones. We are the ones who can begin the great upshift. Thank you. And I'd like to ask you now, how can you be part of this critical mass, this tipping point of whole system change to upshift to a higher order of reality? Anne-Louise, please share with us a few words of what this upshift means to you.
Thank you, Jean, for your inspiring words. And first of all, I'd like to also congratulate Ervin on this wonderful new book, which I highly recommend. He explains in this book how this evolutionary force of life itself acts as an attractor, which I believe is precisely what futures are all about. And that's also what it means to me. Futures, they're not just ideas of time. They are, as Ervin explains in the book, holotropic attractors. Attractors that attract us into the wholeness realization of our cosmological potentials, which are also the informational potentials that carry the seeds for upshifting to higher and more integral orders of reality. So these seeds are within us already, waiting for us to explore and discover and bring it forth and engage it. As Ervin explains in this beautiful book, the attractor acts as a tropism towards coherence and oneness throughout nature, and we are part of nature. And we can experience this as intuition and spiritual insight, also as a sense of wonder and passion and enthusiasm and gratitude and love. And through this evolutionary force, we are intimately part of the greater universe, which is really the cradle of our future becoming. Ervin also mentions in this new book that the evolution of life is not a response to just external conditions, but it's really the unfolding of an intrinsic attraction that is intrinsic to the universe itself. We are attracted to evolve, not through struggle for survival, but we are attracted to evolve, to thrive together with all of life. And what the upshift means to me, therefore, is this departure of hundreds of years of mechanistic thinking and dualistic behavior and the belief in separation, and to shift, truly shift into the higher consciousness states of our next evolutionary step. Life shifts us up and in each time we let go of our limited ways of thinking and we see into life from this beautiful wisdom of our heart. Every moment in your life is an opportunity to upshift and to start living from the realities of life that are so beautifully described in this latest book of Ervin, The Upshift. The realities of living in harmony with our planet and co-creating thriving communities and life-centered civilizations. Join the Upshift.
Welcome, everyone, to the Laszlo Upshift Festival. I am delighted to join with everyone around the world. Ervin Laszlo is one of the most important scientists who unites science with spirituality. In Mother Earth's current chaos, Ervin's new book, The Upshift, Wiser Living on Planet Earth, offers deep wisdom and practical ways to transform humanity and Mother Earth. His insight is invaluable. In ancient wisdom, the heart houses the mind and soul. In our time now, the most important thing is to transform humans' heart and uplift our consciousness. Upshift offers the wisdom to transform humans' blockages and negativities in order to uplift the consciousness of humanity. From my heart and soul, I will sing a song I received from the divine. To celebrate this event and Ervin's new book, the divine message is to bring love, peace, harmony, to create oneness for humanity and Mother Earth. Totally relax. I love my heart and soul. I love all humanity. Join heart and souls together. Love, peace, and harmony. Love, peace, and harmony. Lula, lula, li. Lula, lula, la, li. Lula, lula, li. Lula, lula, li. Lula, lula, li. Lula. 我爱我心和灵，我爱全人类万灵，融合母师生，相爱平安和谐，相爱平安和谐。I wish the greatest success for Ervin's new book and for the Upshift Festival. Love you, love you, love you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Lula, 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 lula.
I love my heart and soul. I love humanity. Join hearts and souls together. Love, peace, and harmony.
Love, peace, and harmony.
Lula, lula. I was Symphony. Gentle আমি আমার মনটাকে ভালোবাসি
Ik hou van alle mensen.
Sagitoen e kwamio wichitoen ai hewa so shite chowa
E aloha mai iao.
amo tutta l'umanità and all the Gypsy 사랑형 화주와 락다스라우하야 하모니아
Hello, everyone. I'm Jude Curravan. The Upshift book and festival are both inspirational rallying calls and empowering way showers to how we can, at this moment of our collective existential and evolutionary choice, upshift both our thinking and, crucially, our behaviours. With Ervin Laszlo as our guide, instead of falling into fear, we're invited to come together to take a leap into love, not from a sentimental, but a deeply felt sense and embodiment of our interbeing with each other, our planetary home, Gaia, and the whole world. We also now have evidence from scientific breakthroughs at all scales of existence and across many fields of research that are revealing that such interconnectedness is the fundamental nature of a universe that exists and evolves as a unified entity. It's a universe inherently conscious, innately intelligent, and imbued with meaning and purpose, that exists to evolve from simplicity to complexity and diversity, towards ever greater levels of individuated and collective self-expression, self-awareness, and conscious interdependence. Convergent with universal wisdom teachings and interspirituality, this emergent whole worldview provides us with a unifying framework and the basis for a unitive and evolutionary new narrative that's founded on universal principles of compassion, truth, justice, and peace. The message of Upshift clarifies its potential and promise and offers eminently practical ways for its realization. As Ervin wisely asks us, how do we build a better post-pandemic world whilst honouring the most cherished values and achievements of our past? For rather than trying to leave our past behind, instead, how do we take the best of its wisdom as a vital, grounded, and timely therapy to substantiate the emergent understanding of unified reality and its evolutionary impulse, and to help lead us together towards a healed, regenerated, and thriving world?
Hello there. I'm Howard Martin. I'm the Executive Vice President at HeartMath here in Northern California, author of some books, a producer of a movie, things like that. But more importantly, I'm a citizen of planet Earth, just like you, doing the very best I can to make meaning out of life and to make a contribution to the betterment of others and to the world itself. More importantly, I guess, is that today I have the opportunity to be a part of the Upshift Festival, Ervin Laszlo's Upshift Festival, and I really appreciate this opportunity to have a few minutes to share with you. It's obvious that the world is going through a tremendous amount of change right now, and the chaos and confusion that we see is often the picture of reality that many people adopt. For me, however, I see a little different picture. I have compassion and understanding about all the challenges that people are going through, but I see so many new and exciting, hopeful possibilities of a new world emerging right in the midst of this old one. Hundreds of millions of people have changed their lives, changed the way they think, changed the way they feel, changed what they want in life, and they're doing everything they can to usher in this new world with more ease and more poise and more grace. And I think that's a wonderful thing. So in the midst of all the challenges, I see great opportunity. We are going through literally a dimensional shift in consciousness right now. We're shifting from a baseline of third dimensional consciousness to one in the higher fourth dimension. It's taking hundreds of years, but it's happening very, very quickly. And we're at a time period right now where the accelerated change is dynamic and real. The question becomes, what do we do with that? How do we manifest this opportunity and turn it into something that's tangible and real for ourselves? And then to take that reality and make it real for everyone else as best we can. That is the big question. To do that, to me, requires something that we all have inside, that we've always had inside, that just needs a little dusting off and brought to the forefront. And that is heart. The qualities of the heart: love, care, kindness, compassion, appreciation, patience, tolerance, non-judgment, the intuitive qualities of the heart that access this larger field of information that gives us insights into what we need to do, the next steps we need to take to help us make decisions, big and small, as we go through the game of life. Part of the changes that I see right now is that heart is re-emerging. It's evolving. It's coming into a newness, unlike anything we've seen in historical times. The emergence of heart intelligence is really part of the evolutionary imperative that we're experiencing right now during this era of high-speed change. So as we learn to trust and listen to and access more of this innate, magnificent intelligence that we have called heart, we end up finding solutions to challenges that sometimes appear to have no solutions. We find the resilience that we need to move forward in life. We find the deep understanding that we need of ourselves, of others, and of the changes in the world. And those are just a few of the many, many benefits that each and every one of us can experience as we manifest more of the qualities of heart in our life and bring about the heart intelligence and bring it to the forefront in everything that we do, and learn how to live truly a more heart-directed life. The fulfillment's there when we do it. I certainly have experienced that in my life, and then my life's work really is about helping other people find their fulfillment through accessing the intelligence of the heart. What I want us to do now is experience a little of that. And to do that, we'll do a very short little heart-focused practice together. The first step in this practice is I'd like you right now, if you can, to close your eyes and then focus your attention here in the area right in the center of your chest, the area of your heart. If you want to, you can put your hand there if it brings your attention to that place. With your attention there, now what I'd like you to do is breathe naturally and normally, but a little deeper than you normally would, but in a rhythm that's comfortable for you. And as you're breathing in this comfortable, deeper rhythm, I'd like you to imagine as if your breath is flowing in and out through the area of the heart. And we're going to do that now for a few breaths together. Next, I'd like you to continue to breathe this way. And I want you to activate a regenerative, uplifting feeling, a heart-related feeling. Maybe it's appreciation for what you have in your life, or the love or the care you have for someone in your life. Or maybe the compassion that you have for others and for the world. And as best you can without forcing it, just try to feel a regenerative, uplifting feeling. Now, I'd like you to gently radiate that feeling, whatever it is you're feeling. Radiate it outward from your heart. Send it out from your heart. And here's what I suggest. For just a minute or so, let's send that feeling to Ervin Laszlo in honor of him and all that he's done and the magnificent man and human being that he is, and for his contributions to this world. I know he wouldn't ask for it. I know he wouldn't necessarily want it, but let's give it to him anyway. Let's send our heart-related, heart-directed feeling to Ervin Laszlo. Now, as I believe he would want us to do, let's expand that feeling now. Send it to humanity. Send it to all of our brothers and sisters on this planet, all going through the same shared experience, all facing their own challenges and the collective challenges of society. Send it especially to those that are experiencing hardship, those that are faced with extraordinary challenges. Add in the heart quality of compassion to this radiation. And send that compassion out to the world and out to humanity itself. Let's close with a heartfelt desire for the world to have more harmony, more peace, more cooperation, less judgment, less separation, less identity with biases. See a more heart-directed, heart-related, heart-connected world emerging. Okay, thank you all very much. Just recognize that you're not alone, that we're all in this together. We're all connected energetically, and all living systems on this planet and beyond are connected. So we're all in this magnificent adventure and game called life. And that a person like you who's taking your time to watch this video, I'm certain is a person who's done wonderful things in the world for others. You're a good person, and you're doing the very best you can in a challenging situation at times. So honor yourself for that, and certainly make sure you give yourself some compassion from time to time. You know, offer yourself the gift of that self-compassion, because you're doing the best you can. And so I want to honor you for what you've done, what you're doing, and I'll get into it for a second, and honor you for what you're going to do in the world as we go through these times together. I've appreciated the opportunity to be with you, to be a part of this festival. And I wish you all the very best, and please take care.
Hi, I'm Deborah Rosman, President and CEO of HeartMath Incorporated. I want to share my deep appreciation for Dr. Ervin Laszlo and all the work he has done. And I love the term upshift. Upshift to me is uplift, as well as shifting into a higher vibration. And it's so what the world needs right now, what our planet needs as it's going through a lot of shifting energies. And shifting energies bring up to the surface that which is old and no longer works and needs to be released, and brings in new energies for more coherent alignment, as we call it at HeartMath. New opportunity, new hope, new potential. So uplift and uplifting our vibration, to me, is the upshift. And the heart is intimately involved in that process. How the heart and brain communicate and getting coherent alignment so the mind and heart are aligned, coherent, and accessing higher dimensional, intuitive ideas, solutions to our personal, social, and global challenges. That's the next evolutionary potential for humanity. And science, whether it's research at the HeartMath Institute or other institutions, is validating this. And that scientific validation helps give hope to humanity of what we can do to make a difference, to uplift, to upshift. And that's exactly what the mission of HeartMath is, and why I'm so happy to be able to share all this with you and to support this wonderful Upshift Festival and Dr. Laszlo's wonderful work. The heart is both a receiver of energies, vibration, information, and a transmitter. And so the more we can learn to still the heart, be still and know, the more we can access that intuitive guidance, the heart's intuitive guidance. And the more we can act on that, listen to our heart, follow our heart, as the ancients have all said, and be able to step into new intelligence, which we call heart intelligence. The more we can come together and connect, because we're different in our beliefs and upbringing in our minds, but we're all pretty much the same in our hearts. So that interconnectivity of heart is what gives hope for humanity. And I want to share with you a technique called shift and lift. It's a HeartMath technique we teach in our programs. And it's something we can each do at any time, simple technique to get coherence between our heart, mind, emotions, align with our higher vibration, bring that in and create that heart connectivity consciously. So the shift and lift technique. Step 1, focus your attention in the area of the heart. Pretend like your breath is flowing in and out of your heart or chest area. Breathing a little more slowly, a little deeper than usual. Just find an easy rhythm that's comfortable. You can put your hand on your heart if it helps you keep your focus and attention there. This is called shift to the heart. Now, as you continue heart-focused breathing, activate feelings of kindness, appreciation, genuine connection, or an attitude of deep listening. If you can't connect with a heart feeling, just try to recall a time when you felt a kind or deeper connection with someone, or felt some appreciation or gratitude for something. And if that's challenging, just breathe a while, calmness, and that will help raise your vibration and help settle your energies. Remember, you can do this anytime, anywhere. Now, radiate these heart qualities. Radiate them from your heart. It'll help raise your vibration and help lift the energy field environment that surrounds you. So there's 3 simple steps. Heart-focused breathing, activate a genuine heart quality, and then radiate that heart quality through your whole body, through your heart's electromagnetic field, and to the environment. We can all contribute to shift and lift and upshift. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. I'm Joy Donnell, the Vice President of Media at the Shift Network. It's an honor to share space with you today. Since 2010, Shift has empowered 3.5 million people in 180 countries and is committed to empowering 100 million more people in the next 5 years to accelerate transition to a more peaceful, sustainable, and thriving planet for all. Our new podcast with Dr. Ervin Laszlo is our latest offering toward that goal. This show will join our Shift Podcast Network alongside other originals such as Liberating Race, which focuses on healing the collective traumas of racism, and Shift Makers with Marion Snall, which showcases iconic conversations with iconic change makers. The Upshift, Conversations with Ervin Laszlo, will focus on what we can do right now to realize a world with more equity, love, and connection to each other, our planet, and the cosmos. It will deep dive into conversations with global luminaries such as Dr. Jane Goodall, Greg Braden, Neil Donald Walsh, and Gary Zukav. These are just a few of the enlivening and intimate fireside chats that will be available through this podcast series. I had the honor and pleasure of being executive producer of the series and hosted the first episode with Ervin, where he generously shares his own journey toward purpose. We hope that you will enjoy listening to the Upshift podcast and check out this sneak peek of the season ahead.
What is the first thing that we should remember as we are heading now toward a new era, hopefully an emerging era that allows us to change, to be the shift that we want to see in the world?
We have for far too long been so destructive of the natural world, and we have forgotten that we actually are part of the natural world. And even if we live in the middle of a city, every breath of air we breathe, every piece of food we eat comes from the natural world. We are totally dependent on the natural world.
We have been taught that we are the product of a dead universe, an inert universe that is made and based in separation.
And the idea of separation eventually created the experience of alienation. We began looking out for ourselves and having no sense of the ultimate reality that we are all one. That what I do for you, I do for me. That what I fail to do for you, I fail to do for me.
The new science is now telling us the universe appears to be alive and conscious. The physics is telling us that we are connected. Not only connected, because now the science is telling us there's a field of energy that underlies all of existence. It's not out there. It's not separate from us. Literally, we are the field.
The universe is love. It's always evolving. There's nothing static. There are no platonic perfections. And it's evolving toward ever-increasing awareness and freedom. And that is love. That is life. That is consciousness.
My name is Ervin Laszlo, and welcome to the Upshift podcast.
Hello, I'm Diane Williams. It's wonderful to be part of the Laszlo Upshift Festival, the rise of the bright alternative, to celebrate the amazing Ervin Laszlo's new book. Upshifting during these unprecedented times will require us to do what a car does when it upshifts from a lower gear to a higher gear to gain speed. In order to make it on planet Earth, we have to alter our trajectory and go from a lower level of being to a higher level of being. That will require us to commit to a deeper level of planetary and cosmic responsibility. Right now, as we know, we are at risk of sending the Earth spiraling into a state that hasn't been experienced for the entirety of our human existence, bringing extreme change that could quickly catapult us towards extinction. For the sake of all of Earth's present inhabitants and future generations, it is a planetary imperative that we gain confidence in ourselves that we can and will turn things around. So what do we need to upshift to change the very fabric of our reality? First, we have to allow our cellular memory of who we really are to come back and remember ourselves as the heart-based solution-thinking alchemists that we are. We all have innate abilities to transmute ordinary states of consciousness into extraordinary states, states that can transform the world's current conditions into something higher. Alchemy can help us change our perspective on how to relate to life and everything in our reality. It calls us to be in our full power and to know deep in our souls that we as human beings can upshift to the next level of our evolution and usher in a world that works for all. Unlocking any form of potential requires transcending the limitations we typically put on ourselves in terms of what we're capable of and ascend through the dimensions of space, time, and limitations to move into the quantum field where all is possible. We know that every advance, every achievement, every movement in the history of humanity that turned the dial towards our evolution has always been connected to an expansion of self-awareness of who we are. Evolution is beckoning us to examine our belief systems, cultural programming, habits, thoughts, language, behaviors, lifestyles, things we take for granted that we need to look at and be willing to let go of if they are not helping to usher in the new. These times are calling for a worldwide effort from every corner of the globe, so dramatic that it will change the very fabric of our reality. This might sound overwhelming, but we can start by each of us simply making personal and collective declarations of human responsibility, where we fully embrace and activate our innate responsibility to each other, our environment, to those in the animal kingdoms and all other life forms. Every choice we make and every action we take now has the weight, but also the blessing of that responsibility, because we are at a choice point where we can choose to fully bring the light of consciousness into this world and turn things around before it's too late. In order to activate our most advanced capacities that will lead to positive evolution, we must individually, collectively, and cosmically be coherent. Coherent is the quality of forming a unified, connective, cohesive whole of diverse elements. For example, our heart, mind, body, emotions, and spirit being aligned. It also includes when our body, including our brain waves, synchronizes and resonates with the various geometric and electromagnetic fields of our planet. In order to achieve individual coherence, we have to check in with ourselves on a daily basis and ask ourselves questions like, does my day-to-day life make me feel happy, connected, and alive? Am I making everyday choices like buying products based on what's in the best interest of the whole? Am I living my values in my day-to-day interactions? How do I treat those closest to us? Is what I am saying, thinking, and doing lining up? Sometimes we need to pause and ask ourselves, is what I'm about to say necessary? Will it contribute to the well-being of myself, others, and our environment? Or will it create division, doubt, or reaction that could have a negative ripple effect in the field? Collective and cosmic coherence can only be obtained if we have individual coherence. When we feel a sense of interconnectedness to the whole through our positive choices, meditation, helping others, living our life's purpose, we also gain more inner peace and confidence in our abilities to navigate our day-to-day lives and the issues facing our world with new energy. When we have fine-tuned our individual coherence, our energy, frequency, and vibration are stronger, and we begin to attract others that are also wanting to exponentially increase their impact in the world and their consciousness. This is when we flow easily into collective coherence. When we join together with others in a common purpose, our coherence begins to upshift, and we begin to attract to and want to join groups and movements of people taking collective responsibility for shaping our future by synergizing our individual efforts into a greater whole. Once inner and collective coherence are reached, we begin to tap more fully into cosmic consciousness and align even more deeply with the cosmic field and become even more expansive as we experience deeper oneness with everything, including the vast number of beings that coexist with us in other multidimensional realms of existence beyond the physical. These beings can be called on to work in partnership with us. In this upshifted state, we begin to feel like there is something propelling us and all aspects of our life upward. And as a result of this opening, profound visions that can lead to new ideas and innovations that the world desperately needs can manifest and give our beloved planet Earth and all of its inhabitants a chance to survive and thrive. Upshifting is the key to changing the very fabric of our reality. Thank you very much.
Good day, everyone. I'm grateful to be part of Ervin Laszlo's Upshift Festival. This is a very important festival because it's talking about living consciously. We can all see the severe challenges that are out in the world. The question becomes, how are we going to journey through them? How are we going to get to this destination of a sustainable planet that's flourishing? And the answer, of course, is that we live consciously. And when we live consciously, we see the connection in all of life. We see our connection to all of humankind, to all of life in the cosmos, to the earth, to animal life, and to plant life. We go within. We understand that our inner life is vitally important. We go within and we commune with the cosmos, with the divine, where we're guided and supported to all of the things that are a part of our station in life. We understand that the field, which is the entirety of the cosmos, is actually within everything, all of life at a cellular level. That all of life is conscious, it's loving, it's alive, it's not dead. Our actions are guided by our inner life. In our actions, we see that with this connection to life, that we become responsible. It's what mature people always do. Where there's connection, there's always responsibility. And where there's responsibility, there's always positive action. Where we do these things, focus on living consciously, go within, allow our outer actions to be guided by our inner being. We live a conscious life. And when we live a conscious life with others, all over the earth, all over the planet, we in a sense extend our hearts and our hands to this vision of a blessed life, a meaningful life, a purposeful life, a connected life, a loving life. And we create this sustainable, flourishing planet. Some call it even a heaven on earth. Now that might sound far-fetched, that we could create something like this from where we are in the world today. But I don't believe that this is true. I believe we can create a world like this. This is what Ervin Laszlo invites us to. In his book, The Upshift, he talks about the role that we're invited to, that we can all step into this. We can all play our role. We can all participate in creating this beautiful, flourishing life that was our invitation when we were born into this life. So this is my call to action. I want to invite everybody to step into this. We in Humanities team certainly are. We are inviting people to pick up the PACE, where PACE stands for Planetary Awakening and Conscious Evolution. We're not on a pace today to create this flourishing planet that I'm talking about and that we're discussing during this Upshift Festival. But we can quickly come together and pick up the pace, and we can create this flourishing planet, and I believe we will. So let's do that together. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lynn McTaggart. And for me, an upshift during these challenging times means completely changing the way we expect life to progress. To date, we've thought that life is all about expecting our established leaders and our institutions to organize our lives. But I think with a true upshift, it's now calling all of us to step up to the plate and understand that we have to make this change. We have to start it. And fundamentally, we have to start it with a change of heart. We have to understand that the way we've been living has been dictated by an outdated scientific model, a model that has promoted separatism and individualistic thinking, also highly competitive thinking. So if we're to progress, we have to eliminate and ditch that old outdated model and understand that our new science describes us more properly as connected, as one giant intergalactic superorganism. For me, the best place to start is, first of all, by understanding our new story, but also looking to use our extra sensory qualities that have been denied us through this old story. We are grander and more powerful than we understand. We have the power to heal ourselves, to heal each other, to heal the world. And I think that upshift really starts with the understanding of the power of our thoughts, the power of our intentions, and the power of our intentions and the supersizing of this in a small group. I've been experimenting with Power of 8 groups for many years now, and I've seen countless miracles. Miracles where people have reversed stage 4 cancer, have connected and created a tribe, have healed their friends, have healed their lives, have healed the world. I've run 40 intention experiments, everything from trying to make seeds grow faster, to purifying water, to lowering violence in war-torn areas and healing people of things like PTSD. And of those 40, 35 have shown measurable, positive, mostly significant effects. So I've seen the power of group intention to heal things in the world. And you can start, as all great grassroots movements start, with a small group, a Power of 8 group. And you will understand how powerful you are to heal the world around you and to heal yourself, and also to create a close-knit tribe, because I believe small communities, ground-up communities, are the way forward. Thank you so much for listening.
Hello,
Hello.
I'm Hiro Sayonji, president of the Goi Peace Foundation. And this is my wife, Masami Sayonji, chairperson of the foundation. We are honored and delighted to celebrate with you the launch of Professor Laszlo's new book, The Upshift. Ervin has been our best friend and the most reliable partner since he received the Goi Peace Award in 2001. Over the years, we have collaborated on many projects to raise human consciousness for a better world. The Fuji Declaration is one of the important initiatives which Ervin, Masami, and I inaugurated in 2015, together with 60 partner organizations and 200 eminent founding signatories, including former heads of state and Nobel laureates. As we state in the Fuji Declaration, and as Ervin emphasizes in his book Upshift, a new phase in the evolution of human civilization is on the horizon. With various crises threatening our survival on Earth, there is a growing need for change in our ways of thinking and acting. In order to make more enlightened choices and change the course of our history, we need to return to the basic question, what is our true nature, and seek a meaningful answer. The time is now to rediscover our connections to nature and the cosmos and realign our life with the universal drive toward oneness and harmony. The time is now to awaken the divine spark in the human spirit and bring forth our innate love, compassion, wisdom, and joy to live a flourishing life. By living consciously and responsibly, we can draw upon our inherent freedom and power to shape our destiny and the destiny of humankind. Let us together make a great upshift to a world of dignity and peace that unfolds the full potential of the human spirit. A world in which each of us gives expression to our highest self in service to the human family and the whole web of life on the planet. Thank you very much, and may peace prevail on earth.
はい、ドクター・ラズロー、私は今日の日を楽しみにいたしております。また、ドクター・ラズローが新しい本をお出しになっておめでとうございます。それは、これからの多くの人たちの心に、本当に、ハート、要するに心を動かして今の世の中を変えたいと思う、そういう内容を、もう、今までのご体験の、その、通りの、お姿を見せておられると思うので、私は大変に嬉しく思います。で、また今主人が語ったように、その通りで別に私と主人とは同じ道を歩む、本当にそしてそれにドクター・ラズロが加わり、世の中を変革してまいりました。これからは私自身も世に出なければいけないと確信いたしました。そして今まで、その今の地球の状況、人類の状況を見ておりますと、もう地球破壊、人類破壊、それから地震、それから津波、もう多くの大自然がもう人間の欲望で壊されつつ、もう破壊に近づいております。そして人類の心は何を頼りにしていいか、もう本当にまだまだ自分たちの生き方が分かっておりません。人間は自らの神性によって生かされているのです。その神性がわからなくして、いくらその自分自身を世の中の変えようと思っても、自分自身が変わらなければ世の中は絶対に変わらないのです。この世の中を作っているのも人類一人一人の豪壮念、要するに欲望達成のみです。地位、権力、宗教、それから主義主張、そして男性本位。ですからこれからは私は本当に男女平等、そして若さも老いも、それから子供も、それから国境を越えて国民も人種も民族もみんな一つになって世界を大きく変えようという動きを、ムーブメントを起こしたいと思います。そのためにこれから私は世界中を回って歩きたいと存じます。その時にまたアービン・ラズローと共に行かれることを楽しみに思っております。今の状況では本当に世の中、人類も滅亡いたします。これは私ははっきり断言できます。全く今の状況からいくら部分的に変革を起こしてもそれは到底無理なことで、全人類一人一人が変わる。そのためには全人類は一人一人は自分の中に神性というものを持っている。自分を信じて生きる。 人を信じるんじゃない、神を信じるんじゃない、大統領を信じるんじゃない、先生を信じるんじゃない、自分自身を信じる。この自分自身を信じるというのは、自分はこの世に生まれた時にはみんな全人類、いかなる黒人もどこの貧しい国でも孤児であっても神聖、神の命を宿って根性に誕生したのですから、みんながその神聖というものが蘇った時に、世界、人類は自然に一つになって平和な世界が築き上げられます。私はそれをまたドクター・ラズローと共にやっていきたいと思います。ドクター・ラズロー、ますます頑張ってください。では、ごきげんよう。
I'm Gary Zukav, and I'm happy to join you in this celebration of the Upshift. In my experience, this is the most exciting and amazing time that it's possible to be human. Humans have never stood in the places that we now stand. Human consciousness is transforming in ways that it never has before. We are now in the midst of an unprecedented, epic transformation to the human consciousness, to the consciousness of the human species itself. We are moving beyond the limitations of the perceptions of the five senses and the understanding of the intellect, and we are entering perception of the world, ourselves, the universe, and all things else in ways that are not limited to the perceptions of the five senses. We still see, we still taste, touch, and smell, but all of these things now carry meaning. They show us things that we couldn't even see before. This is all part of multisensory perception. Multisensory perception brings with it a new understanding and experience of power. That is the alignment of your personality with your soul. This is where the story gets very interesting. The only way that you can create the new power, authentic power, is by becoming aware within yourself of the difference in you between fear and love, and choosing love all the time. This requires some knowledge, some practice, and some commitment, a lot of commitment and courage. The only way that you can become aware of the difference between love and fear in yourself is through your emotions. Emotions are very important to multisensory humans, to the new consciousness, and to the creation of authentic power. Emotions were only hindrances, and often painful hindrances, to five sensory personalities. To multisensory personalities, they're very important because they show us those parts of our personalities that we need to experience fully and move beyond the control of in order to give the gifts that we were born to give. And it's only by doing that that we can contribute to the evolution of humankind, only by creating authentic power. That's the story in short. The rest of it is a matter of doing it. Actually becoming an individual who's emotionally aware and makes responsible choices, who knows when fear is present in himself or herself, or love, because of the physical sensations in your body. If they're painful, you know fear is active. If they're blissful, or they feel good, really good, you know that love is active. Love is what we experience as gratitude, appreciation, caring, patience, contentment, awe of the universe. And it's very different from experiences of fear, of jealousy, of resentment, of vengefulness, of superiority and entitlement, or inferiority and needing to please, of compulsion, of addiction. We are new map makers of new maps. We're in new territory. And what our evolution becomes depends upon your choices. What you become depends upon your choices. The only things that are separating you from what you want to become and what you want our species to become are choices, your choices. When you choose to act in love, you create positive and constructive painful consequences for yourself and for the world. And when you choose to act in fear, you create painful, destructive consequences for yourself and for the world. The work that you do on yourself is not only changing you, it's a world changer. That's our new creation story. It's an amazing story. And where it goes for you and for all of us depends upon you, not upon others, not upon people joining a movement, not upon people adopting new beliefs, but upon individuals becoming authorities in their own lives, able to consciously choose between love and fear, choose love, and be grateful for it. As I'm grateful for being here with you.
Hello, all of my global citizen friends everywhere in the world. Welcome to the Upshift Festival, this wonderful event worldwide where we can affirm each other's visions of how our future can be healthy and whole and progressive. And basically, I am so honored to have had so many opportunities to read these wonderful books and to know Ervin Laszlo for so many years. He has inspired me in ways he will never know. And so I am honored to be part of this Upshift Festival where we can affirm each other's visions of a whole planet. And the interesting thing for me is that my knowing this whole understanding of the planet and our relationship to our mother star that provides those free photons for us every day, it is the same kind of intuitive understanding that we can all access, and which Ervin Laszlo has demonstrated so beautifully in his whole life, the intuitive understanding of the wholeness and the cosmic intelligence that really drives the future. The positive future. Let us all tune into it. And I had that same kind of intuitive understanding. I never went to college. And in my mantra says, each day I recommend myself to the almighty power of universal love and the life force of which I am a small part. So we all really are a part of this wonderful universe, the life force, the purposefulness of this life force. Let's upshift our understanding to what we really intuitively know, that we can create harmony and beauty and the further evolution of life on this planet. Again, these books, Ervin's new books, and particularly I'm honored to have a chapter in his book, The Dawn of an Era of Well-Being. So let's get together, join in creating this new dawn of global and planetary well-being. Thank you.
Uplift, upshift. To me, uplift is buoyant. Upshift is bold. Uplift is like an inspiring mindset to complement upshift, which is a propulsion energetic, a world-changing, life-shifting, dynamic momentum that makes me think of rockets lifting off into the stratosphere. Lately, we've become really enamored with space exploration, haven't we? But what about inner space exploration? Without this to complement the ride, our species will wind up lost in space, spaced out without being tuned in, ever cultish adolescents experiencing increasingly tough adolescence in this loony classroom of life. You know, most of us have experienced a relationship breakup, and whether the relationship with that individual or being was healthy or not, fulfilling or not, it was probably still hard. Breaking up is hard to do, as the song goes. Well, we are currently in a worldwide relationship breakup, from an old paradigm to a new, from an unhealthy, largely narcissistic, and often lopsided relationship that denies the many and favors the few. Learning to love self, other, something greater, is the only way through this mess of our humanness that we've not only inflicted upon one another, but other species. I mean, how many more epochs do we have to get this right? How many more redressings of the same ancient messaging before we accept our diversity as part of ultimate unity and ultimately align? To everybody, on behalf of every being, to every parent or future parent, on behalf of tender-hearted, mindful child rearing, to every leader of nation and corporation, let's use the power of our imaginations and leave a once-in-a-civilization legacy that leads with love and the gift of upshift.
Folks, these are challenging times, and in different ways for each of us. In a sense, it's like we're being called upon to both consciously and conscientiously birth ourselves while also midwifing the collective. From systems and policy changes to lifestyle behavior modifications to disrupting belief systems, comfort zones, discomfort zones, the gamut of the human experience is reeling in upheaval and, in a way, being reborn. It's thrilling for some, unsettling for many, and we need to inspire a collaborative dance step that belongs to everybody, so we step less on each other's toes.
Greetings and hello everyone. It was a great pleasure to receive the invitation to say a few words at this Laszlo Upshift Festival, a celebration of our humanity and of our future and our potential futures. And of course, Upshift is really a celebration, as well as being a responsibility and an internal work, an external work. It's also a celebration of the joy of living. And when we think about upshift and we think about the two words up and shift, often with up we think about going vertically. We have to go somewhere, we have to reach somewhere. In one part, it could mean about trying to transcend where we are. But for me, the up of the shift is also about coming back together. coming back to who we are, gathering ourselves towards a unity resonance, not choosing fear, division, anger, but choosing to gather ourselves in, to find that synchronization with ourselves. So wherever we go in a state of balance and harmony. So that's the gathering, the up part of the shift. And the shift is part of this phase change that we're going through, this new space of existence that we're moving into. And we have to be prepared for that, not only through our actions, but principally through our perceptions and perspectives and state of being, because those are the fundamental elements that will be the foundation of our behaviors. So we have this shared reality, and it also, for me, is reality which is spiritually grounded as well as being metaphysically well informed. For me, they are fundamental that we have that spiritual metaphysical groundwork for moving ahead as a species. The upshift is also about leaving behind an obsolete system, a system which worked at one stage of our development and brought us to where we are, but is not adequate to take us any further. I always remember an old adage that I picked up in my travels from the Middle East, and it says that you would ride a donkey to your front door, but you wouldn't ride it into your house. An old Turkish adage, I believe, which suggests to me that one medium of transport would get us to the front door, but then we have to understand that it's time to get off that vehicle and move in another way. We can't enter the human house on a system which is now obsolete for us. And to leave behind that obsolete system made me think about 5 C ways, using the C word. One is conscious awareness. The second one is connection. The third is communication. The fourth is creation. And the fifth is compassion. Conscious awareness means that we should not have our ignorance. We should be aware of what's happening in the world, be aware of the troubles, be aware of the dark places where light is required, but we're not entangled in that area. We're aware of it in order to understand where we have to move to. Connection is about understanding that we are not alone. There are other like-minded, like-souled people in the world, all over, many of us. Just because we don't see them next door or down the street, we're everywhere, and that we can connect and make those connections, whether virtual and physical. Communication is about speaking our truth, not being in fear to say what we wish, to say what's in our hearts, so others know our position, know where we are, so we can connect better with them. Creativity is about finding our resilience. It doesn't have to be creativity in art or painting or music, but creativity is about doing things in new patterns, new ways, finding ways new ways and patterns that work for us today and be resilient in that. And compassion, of course, is always necessary to understand others and their difficulties, and that we are in a time of deep healing, and others may need that compassion. We each come from our own places, our own background, and we have to come together without judgment. So finally, I would like to say for this wonderful celebration of Uplift to Ervin and friends that, to quote a great admirer that we both admire, Buckminster Fuller, he said that we are called to be architects of the future, not its victims. So let us take this joy, this compassion, this inspiration, and let us take this to be architects of our future. Thank you.
Hello, friends. This is Ted Marr from Out of This World Radio, and I want to thank Professor Ervin Laszlo so much for his wonderful new book called The Upshift, as well as his fantastic conference, which is coming up on February 22nd. You know, one thing that's come from this pandemic is that we're all one. We all have the spark of the creator within us, and we all need to help each other out. And what I've been doing for the last, 4 or 5 years with my good friends, Martha Childress from the Natural Choice Network, Michiko Hayashi with the Moto Peace Project in Tokyo, Leon McLaughlin of the Washington Clean Water Foundation, and Carolyn White, wonderful psychic, and Ernest Tahoe, the Hopi Indian nation, is to raise funds for clean water for both the Hopi and the Navajo. On the Hopi Reservation in Arizona in the United States, men only live to about 44 years and women only live to about 54 years because of heavy contamination of radioactivity and other pollutants in their drinking water supplies. But we've been turning this around. We've been fundraising for them for the past 4 or 5 years now. And now many people on the Hopi Reservation and Navajo as well are getting clean water where they never had any clean water before. The purpose of my show is to make this world a much better and happier place. I've been broadcasting now for the past 8 years. I have a listener base of somewhere over 36 million people in over 100 countries. And I know if we all work together, we can and will make this planet a much better and happier place. And I want to thank Professor Laszlo again for sponsoring this wonderful conference. It's just the right thing we need at the right time to help all of humanity find our direction now. And I know that if we all work together, we can create a much better and happier world. I broadcast on Saturdays and on Mondays in English, German, and in Spanish. And my website is outofthisworld1150.com. And I hope you can all listen. And if you'd like to join our efforts to help with the Hopi, please send me an email to outofthisworld1150@gmail.com. We have a nonprofit, the Washington Clean Water Foundation. We work with Leon McLaughlin in Seattle. We've arranged with a manufacturer of water filters so that the Hopi can be provided wonderful new clean water filters so they could drink clean drinking water, as well as the Navajo. I hope you can support our efforts, and I want to thank Professor Laszlo again for this wonderful opportunity. Bye-bye, everyone, and have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.
With Putin poised on the borders of Ukraine, all Europe is threatened with being sucked into yet another war that could end in catastrophe. Beyond this, and still in the grip of COVID-19, which has affected everyone on the planet, we face the huge challenge of climate change. We need wisdom, we need guidance, and we need practical solutions to adopt and follow. During his long life and in his many books, Ervin Laszlo has consistently devoted himself to defining the challenges we face as a species and the solutions that are available to us at this crucial time of choice. In his new book, Upshift, he offers us the wisdom born of long reflection, as well as a plan to implement that wisdom in practical and achievable ways. What does the word upshift mean? It means that we're beginning to discover that we're cosmic as well as planetary beings, that we have an evolutionary purpose on this planet, and that we have a duty to care for the life of the planet and to become its guardians rather than its exploiters. Quantum physics has shown us that at the deepest subatomic level, we are inextricably connected to the entire cosmos and to each other and to the life of the planet. We do not live in a dead universe, but one that is supremely alive and conscious and intelligent. Each one of us is an infinitesimal part of that life, that consciousness, and that intelligence. Our consciousness is not created by the neurons of the brain, nor does it die with the death of the physical body. We are part of and co-creators with what we have been worshipping for thousands of years. This new view of ourselves could lift us out of the problems that currently confuse us. In chapters 6 and 7, Laszlo invites us to upshift our spirituality, our morality, our science, and our political relationships. In a word, our whole concept of reality and its related patterns of behavior. We urgently need to reconnect with nature, life, and the universe, to see ourselves in a completely different way as part of a stupendous and truly miraculous whole. It may be possible, he says, to effect this enormous change by 2030 if we embark on it now. It is clear that we're faced with a choice. Either we awaken to a more advanced kind of consciousness that will take us beyond the patterns of behavior that have prevailed for millennia, or we risk succumbing to the chaos of the struggle merely to survive, putting at risk all our great achievements. In Upshift, Ervin Laszlo offers us an agenda for a conscious humanity that clearly explains what we need to do to move to a more evolved state of consciousness. He offers us a thread of Ariadne guiding us through the labyrinth of modern life to confront and overcome the Minotaur, the obsolete ideas, the redundant beliefs, and the archaic habits of behavior that currently control us. Despite our phenomenal technological prowess, we are held back by all of these. Upshift shows us the way out of the labyrinth, giving us the different perspective and values that we need to create a different kind of civilization, a civilization that respects and responds to the primary needs of all people and all species on this planet. The power to effect the change we need does not, he says, lie with our inadequate leaders, but with the whole body of humanity, that is to say, with each one of us. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Marianne here. It's an honor to get to be part of this with Ervin Laszlo, who, as a little girl, I really used to come to the bookstore and just be in awe of his work. And the thing that always struck me the most was how he recognized interconnections. And he recognized throughout history, people needed to interrelate across not just cultures, but areas of knowledge. When you look at the world, you see people trying to understand each other, trying to understand this place that we call life. So when we talk about upshifting, which is a fabulous word that Ervin Laszlo has created, upshifting generally means shifting our perspective. And when he says up, he's saying, don't just look around. It's his fault. It's her fault. You know, this is mine. This is yours, which is all at this level. He's saying, lift up your perspective. Well, the first thing that we have to do in terms of shifting is become consciously aware of how we shift our thinking. Today, too many people pay attention to mimetics. Mimetics are when you have that advertisement that comes in and says, think this, think that. Any of you have a jingle in your head from a commercial that you can't get out of your head? Like, where's the beef? The minute I say that, you all know exactly what I'm talking about, because that's a mimetic that got stuck in your head a long time ago. But nowadays, we are bombarded by mimetics. It's been lifted to a science. So how can we consciously change the mimetics in our minds to say, I'm going to end up thinking I can. I'm going to end up thinking that it's possible. I'm going to end up believing that this world can be transformed from the inside out. And the way you do that, and this is very key, the way you do that is you consciously take control of the way you shift your thinking. You become conscious of what you choose to surround yourself by, what you choose to engage with, what you choose to pursue. Because all those things that you're involved with create the culture and environment that you're in. And if we start becoming more aware of that, then we are collaboratively not just shifting around the culture in our little bubbles, but we have the potential, you have the potential to shift humanity to a level it has never been before. And that is the beauty of trying to think of what it means to upshift. When Ervin first asked me, he said, I want you to talk about upshifting. I was like, what is upshifting? But the truth is, we do it all the time, but we downshift. We downshift into getting caught up in what we look like, who we know, how much money we have in the bank. And some of those things are important, but why are they important? Let's talk about it openly. It's about power. When you're attractive, when you got cash in the bank, it gives you power. And we get so caught up in wanting the power, we forget, why do we want the power? Ask why. What is it you want to do in this world? What is it your impact needs to be? And the thing is, you're doing all those things that all of us are doing because we want power to do something. But when we get so caught up in trying to get the power, that's when we end up being vulnerable to the mimetics that downshift our thinking. So upshift yourself by saying, I am going to choose the things that I am aiming for. And I'm going to choose to resonate only with those things that get me closer to that. Because these other things are distractions, they're whirlwinds. And it's so easy to be pulled into them. And as long as we do that, you're doing the marketing's works for them. But if you take the reins of control of your life, there is no end in sight. There is no limit to the kind of impact you can have in this world.
Greetings from the Netherlands. I am Annemarie Voorhoeven, servant leader of the Club of Budapest International Network, co-founder of the Hague Center for Global Governance, Innovation and Emergence, and co-producer of the seasonal convergences like World Unity Week in June and Peace Week in September. I am about to embark on my way to the Club of Budapest, Cyprus, with Viola Edward and her friends to put Upshift into action, into practice, because that is what Ervin Laszlo does. He offers his creative power and inspires us to act. I will share with you some of the things that touches me. His vision and books give hope, perspective, guidance. They are rooted in wisdom, led by the heart and the mind with decades of inquiry, asking profound questions and coming with possibilities and potential. A wide range of research, knowledge, mixed with life experience. Perhaps for most, curiosity for and as the love for life that he and Carita share, as do our Club of Budapest and Laszlo Institute and friends like you. Ervin names it planetary consciousness, the knowing as well as the feeling of the vital interdependence and the essential oneness of humankind with the ethics and the ethos that this entails. The invitation I feel called to answer again and again is to come together, drawing the contours of a desirable world that is also attainable and rooted in this planetary consciousness, and in the unfolding of the evolutionary scenario that Ervin describes in the Upshift and that evolutionary leaders point towards. Let us become even more responsible and effective agents of our society's change and transformation, manifesting in responsible living and universal love. Many of us might need to let go of things, stop ways of living and working that do not serve the whole and that we actually do not need. It may require courage to do so. I trust that as humanity, we do have access to an endless source of courage that we can manifest from within and out to cope with this not knowing and this change. Let us not only focus on the rational side and include emotions, the rebalancing of the masculine and the feminine, develop justice as just is, noticing when we forget and remembering to return to the essence of life, in which, as evolutionary cosmologists share with us, love can flow in a never-ending stream. We are here to collaborate, co-create, support each other, to link up, lift up, light up. Whenever I fall in doubt, I practice to open my heart in kindness. With humility and gratitude, I put a smile on my face and I imagine immense joy whilst walking the path of life here and now in ancient times and times to come. That helps me and perhaps us. Curiosity and imagination can transform. Please hear Ervin Laszlo and our call. Join us in the Upshift, in the upcoming convergences, the tales of synergy from the magic canoe. We are already here together, coming home.
Hi, Michael Ellis of the Club of Budapest, Australia. Ervin Laszlo's Upshift book is the most significant book we have for the 21st century. It makes it quite clear that we are at a tipping point, a bifurcation point, and that we have to do something very urgently, in a matter of years, if we have to survive in any sustainable way. This means we have to look at ourselves in a completely different viewpoint. This Ervin Laszlo calls a paradigm shift. We have to change the paradigm and the way we look at ourselves, the nature of the human being, and how we create and relate to each other in terms of our connectedness in life and in business. Everything that we have achieved up to now is going to fall apart unless we understand the nature of love, compassion, and connectedness. Indeed, in Ervin Laszlo's work on the Akashic field and on the relationships between ourselves and the universe, we see that we are part of a purposeful, connected universe. We are part and parcel of process of growth, creativity, and evolution in a living, infinite universe. This nexus of change is something that we are and have to be very much a part of. We cannot neglect our relationships with the totality of the living universe and the totality of cosmic life. We have to urgently investigate the real nature of who we are and the beauty of the human psyche. Thank you very much, Ervin Laszlo, for your beautiful book, Upshift.
Hello, my name is Darla Boone. I am the President, CEO, and Executive Producer of Boone Media International. Boone Media International produces programming that is aired on PBS and beyond. Beyond is digital broadcast. It's my honor to be with you today and share a little bit about my journey with Professor Laszlo. He is my client and he is my friend. The first time I met Ervin, I had the opportunity to film him in a casual conversation. During that time, as I was just getting acquainted with Ervin, I didn't know a lot about him. I didn't really realize who I was sitting in front of. And as this conversation went on, I realized I am sitting in the presence of a very brilliant person, a true genius, and also a true humanitarian. By the time our conversation ended, Ervin and I had become friends and have been friends ever since. A few years went by and we maintained our friendship. Our friendship grew, and I realized that somebody needs to do a documentary film about the life of Ervin Laszlo. Who is this person, and how is it that he knows all of this information, has written all these books, etc., all the many things that he has done. And so that person turned out to be me. So we've now produced this 1-hour special for PBS, and it's called Insight and Inspiration of a Modern Day Genius, Ervin Laszlo. And it'll be coming out very soon, and I'm hoping that all of you will take the time to watch it, because it'll be also broadcast through digital broadcast as well. So if you're not on a PBS system, that'll be fine. You will be able to see the show, and I hope you all watch it. I find that in the work that Ervin has done, as I've known him over these years, he just has this incredible enthusiasm and strength and insight and really guiding all of us. And in his latest venture, which is called Upshift, he is the innovator and the initiator of the Upshift movement. And I feel, and all the different things I've watched him create over these last years of knowing him, I really feel that Upshift is a significantly important project for him, but also for all of us. I feel in this, he's really laid out steps to help all of us really step up and be more responsible for what's going on in the world today. We are the ones, we are the ones who gather around these ideas and take a look at how can we make this world not be as crazy as it is, and can we do that? And if we are doing that, what are the steps to doing that? And I think Ervin has really laid those steps out for all of us to be able to follow. His work very accessible to everybody. You can find Ervin on Google, you can find Ervin in many, many places, and really delve into what it is that he has to say. And for those of you who are not that familiar with his work, you will find he's extremely profound.
It's all one system. It's one quantum system. A non-local, instantly interconnected system. We are a conscious part of a conscious universe. we are one with the others. We are one with the rest of the universe, because all the information in this universe that makes us what we are is the same information that makes the universe what it is. Then what I do is what happens to you. What you do is part of me. We are then responsible for each other. We should say that each and every one of us, we are responsible for the evolution of life on this planet.
want to thank everyone so much for attending. This has really been a glorious event. So many people showing up, so many positive messages. Let's build on this. Everyone go out, buy 20 copies of the book, 50 copies of the audio, share them with everyone. You can go to Amazon to get the book, to get the ebook, to pre-order the audio. The audio won't be released actually till March 25th. It'll be on Audible. The books are available everywhere. Let's really get behind the Upshift movement. Let's make this a lasting, permanent movement that really will raise the awareness on our planet as quickly as possible. I want to thank everyone involved. You've all done a fantastic job. We're going to end with a wonderful statement from the Laszlo Institute for the New Paradigm Research Center leaders, and then a wonderful closing segment of flute music from Alexander Laszlo. I think it's wonderful how we've had music at the beginning, the middle, and the end. I'm so appreciative of Dr. Master Shaz and his team. The music segment in the middle was wonderful. The speeches from everyone were so inspiring. Really very honored and proud to have been able to host this and to serve as Ervin's agent, publisher. And Gail.
Yes, and I want to thank everyone to remind us to live in loving kindness and behave as if the God in all things matter. The messages are important, and as you go deeper within and connect with yourself and with others, you will find that miracles happen, and they happen in unforeseen ways. And to live and breathe in the sound and the united mind and heart through your soul is the most rewarding thing you can do for yourself, and your vibration will raise, and everywhere you go, that vibration will reverberate out to others.
Without further ado, let's turn it back over to Georgie and Alexander from the Laszlo Institute for New Paradigm Research. Thank you again, everyone, and do pay attention. You can donate to the Institute. I hope you will. They're doing great work. Thank you again. It's been our honor and pleasure to host this event.
Thank you so much, Bill and Gail. And you know, just before we begin telling you a little bit about the Laszlo Institute, I see that Ervin is back with us live, and I just wanted to see if maybe he wanted to say a few final words before we begin this very last segment in closing of this event. Ervin?
Yes, thank you, Alexander. Indeed, I'm back live, and I hope to remain live. I think that the deepest thanks and appreciation are due to everyone who was involved in organizing this event. It's a festival to life. It's a festival to the future. We cannot stay as we are, but if we can upshift, then we have a future, a bright future. I think we can. As I listen to all the brilliant talks, I notice they all come up with the same wisdom, the wisdom that we need, the wisdom that we are connected, wisdom that we are one with nature, one with the universe, and we can live like that. I pledge that from now on, every day, I'll do my best to give an opportunity for people to come together, express the wisdom that they have, commit themselves to it, and then help them to come together to realize the wisdom that is innate to them. That's what we need. So thank you, Alexander. Thank you, Georgie. And thank you, Bill Gladstone and Gail and all the others who have been involved in this. You have done a great service, not to me, but to humanity. Thank you again.
Wonderful, wonderful. How inspirational. Thank you again. And let me then upshift to a little bit of sharing with you about the Laszlo Institute, because that's the background of this. And Georgie and I will be sharing the screen now as the two of us will share with you a little bit about the Laszlo Institute. Welcome up, Georgie, to the stage. And just to share with you, Georgie is the executive director of the Laszlo Institute of New Paradigm Research. Her background, I'm not going to get into this very much, but truly her depth of understanding of all the things that Ervin is doing and has done in the creation of the Laszlo Institute as kind of culminating in, not necessarily culminating, but coming to a fine point in this Upshift Festival and the Upshift book her understanding of this runs very, very deep. She has dedicated her studies to this. And so it's wonderful that she is the executive director. I am here with you as the director of research at the Laszlo Institute of New Paradigm Research. So just a few words from the two of us about what is this home? Hopefully it's your home as well for explorations about the upshift, because we are the ones who, the Laszlo Institute is really launching this initiative of Ervin's. This institute is an internationally renowned global think tank, and we're dedicated to exploring and expanding the frontiers of science. The Laszlo Institute serves as a reference for researchers at the cutting edge of science to corroborate the legitimacy of their investigations, and also to strengthen the validity claims of their work. So in doing that, we invite and incorporate scientific considerations that bridge disciplinary and phenomenological or experiential domains that are not typically explored by classical or mainstream science. The result is an institutional offering of new paradigm science by which to guide research and development plus innovation, what is talked about as R&D plus I, in theoretical, applied, and experiential scientific inquiry. So this offering seeks to distinguish legitimate engagements in and expressions of science from those of pseudoscience that are fraud, fiction, fake, or false. With its focus on advancing science and scientific inquiry on the nature of reality, the Laszlo Institute simultaneously opens and grounds new domains of scientific inquiry through explorations that combine applied science, action research, and transdisciplinary research methodologies. New paradigm research explores the domain of full spectrum inquiry into the nature of manifest reality, drawing upon intellectually robust, academically rigorous, experimentally replicable, and pragmatically relevant methods of research. These are grounded in the tradition of science by being independently testable, amenable to corroboration, and accessible without recourse to esoterica, while at the same time being open to evidence not necessarily derived from empirical, positivistic, or reductionistic approaches. The spirit of new paradigm research fosters whole system engagement with manifest reality and the substructures that underlie it, promoting transdisciplinarity and the capability to use the full range of human meaning-making capacity to explore and make sense of our world.
Thank you, Alexander. I'll take it from you now. I believe that we at the Laszlo Institute are dedicated to evolving human spirit and consciousness. As a vehicle for articulation, new paradigm science, the Laszlo Institute seeks to give voice to both general as well as specific expressions of the field. It serves as a means to reach as broad a public as possible by providing an integral lens through which to gain perspective on perennial insights from a variety of wisdom traditions that are amenable to scientific inquiry. It also creates programs and fosters projects that express these perspectives through real-world activities aimed at catalyzing impactful, scalable change. Whenever you have a chance, please do visit our website for our upcoming events, such as the third symposium, which will take place on the 14th and 15th, Sunday and Saturday of May. And the topic will be sentience and consciousness. More details will be followed on our website. You can also check out our various research projects headed by Alexander Laszlo, my lovely colleague, and how to become a member of our organization, how to support our endeavors as well. Now, if you allow, I would like to share a few words from Ervin's freshest book, The Upshift, under the section, A Manifesto Evolving the Self-Governance of Human Societies. He said the following: "We, the people of the planet, are at a crossroads in evolutionary journey. We can choose to make great music and come into harmony as one, or continue on the current path of discordant chaos with the inevitable results. It all depends on whether we are willing to attune with humanity and the natural world. Well, I would like to add that we won't find harmony within the universe until we have established harmony within ourselves first. And with regard to great music, I would like to turn our attention back to Alexander, who will play us his flute as we are closing this wonderful festival. You may stay or leave as and when you wish. So let the flute's vibration guide us to the harmony we want to create in this world. So over to you, Alexander.
Thank you all again. This has been a fantastic event. Thank you so much, Alexander. That was a beautiful way to end it. Gail and I are just really pleased to be able to participate, to honor our longtime friendship with your family, particularly with Ervin.
Karita.
And Karita, your mom, who has gone unmentioned and who's really been so important to all of Ervin's work and who has really been the heart and soul of the Upshift for all of us. So thank you, Karita, as well. Thank you, everyone who participated. It's really been a wonderful event. And I hope everyone will get the link and share this. I know most people probably didn't have 3.5 hours to spend, so you probably didn't spend the entire time. So go back and catch the parts that you missed. Every minute had something fabulous in it. So share this link. Let's have 1 million people watch this video. Thank you so much.
There they are, Dr. and Mrs. Laszlo. You can unmute and say hi to everyone as they sign off.
Hi, everybody. I wish everybody a good restful night. Over here is getting late. In Argentina, less. In California, even less. But over here, it's now getting time to retire. But it was a great experience.
Well, we are upshifting, and thank you so much for the inspiration and for the path for doing this with the manual, the handbook for the upshift. So wonderful. We're hoping that everyone signs up for joining the movement and also engaging through the book to make this happen. And Nora, thank you so much for organizing everything.
Nora has been the heart and soul and the director of conductor of this whole symphony. So what she has been doing has been fabulous, really.
I think that's it for the event. Thank you so much, everyone.
Good night, everyone.